What's up, everybody? Big Luke here, man of the free, freedom of mind, money, and media. We're back in the studio again with my good friend, Dan Bender. Dan is with, name the company, Dan?
NetManageIT. I'm the CTO and owner.
There you go with the acronyms. What is CTO?
Chief Technical Officer. It's like a CEO. I mean, not that the titles even matter, but yeah, that's because I'm like the lead tech guy and kind of most experienced technically. That's what a CTO is in an organization.
Okay, so one thing as a small business owner, entrepreneur, the technical terms, the CEO, the CFO, the CTO, it's like, I feel like it's an acronym game, and it almost, they're used to intimidate people into thinking that you're very important and special. Does that kind of?
It kind of is. I mean, you know, for the longest time, system engineer is a generic, term for that, but, it just designates that, president, it's executive level, but.
Executive level, does it also imply some functionality, like you're a hands-on guy?
Sure, chief technical guy.
Yeah.
The number one technical guy, the guy where if anybody else can find the answer, the buck stops with me.
You're the guy.
Kind of chosen to know everything about everything. So
awesome, brother. Well, in the spirit of what we do here, I'm going to introduce the audience to you a little bit, what you do, what your capacity is with your company, and you're going to chime in on that. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to talk about how you and I met, because the audience is usually dying to know that. So NetManageIT is a company that your dad started?
Originally, he started it in '96, and I came on board about a year later. So something like early '97-ish.
So Dad got rocking, started cooking, and then you came on board. Now, did you exit college to go be with Dad's company? Did you finish college? Did you not go to college?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I went to OCC,
okay,
like a lot of people do, not knowing exactly what you want to do. I thought radio and television would be cool. Mm-hmm. In fact, I grew up doing soundboards. I even had my own little recording studio. So at one point, that was kind of my passion.
Okay.
So, so I got the 2-year degree up at OCC. It was a fun program. You just play with cameras all day long and do this kind of stuff, right?
Okay.
And but I quickly realized I had a choice after I got an associate's. Do I go on to Newhouse, like at Syracuse, pay the big bucks? But I quickly realized that, frankly, unless you're kind of the top 1% or you have a niche, I'd be making minimum wage as a cameraman.
Okay.
For some lady traveling around, and it's kind of not what I envisioned it. So I had a choice to where my dad was an engineer at AT&T Labs. He got a good parachute out of there because they're NCR cash register.
Okay.
They were bought by AT&T Labs, and AT&T just made a horrible business choice. So like fire everybody but Fortune 500 companies. We only want to support Fortune 500 companies. So we actually inherited a lot of like local municipalities were big in government that were kind of stranded because they didn't fit the Fortune 500.
Now, did his relationships with them from being with AT&T, did he leverage those relationships, or were these new clients?
It was kind of good because the parachute, it was a good severance. It gave him some money for about a year to go out on his own. He volunteered to leave because he kind of saw the writing on the wall.
Gotcha.
Everybody was kind of either getting fired or they're leaving. So he had he had enough of that, but he also knew that, he could do this himself. And early beginnings, you start off in a garage or like anybody, Steve Jobs. And but he did get enough of an existing customer base. He basically wrote them letters, these municipals and school districts all over New York State, for example, and pretty much just said, NCR is going to drop you, or AT&T. What do you think if I'm supporting you? They all unanimously, he took all that up. So that gave him kind of an instant customer base, which isn't always... doesn't always happen that easy.
Yeah, that's the dream of
so
a lot
that
of
gave
small
him a good
owners.
foundation to start and experiment and do things. And that I came in a year later, and I started. I've always been good with computers, because of him since I was a child. Before personal computers were even in the home as we know it. I was building computers. He was bringing home the first laptop, as you want to call it.
Okay.
It's basically a large suitcase. It was Compaq made it, and it had a little green screen and a full-out keyboard, but it was literally like 80 pounds.
Oh, shit.
And I got into that and bulletin board systems and just was really good with computers, but it was more of a hobby, fun thing, and learned a lot of it self-taught. So I kind of came into the business with a lot of already knowledge.
Okay.
And I went to like schools back in the day, the executive training, I think it was. It's kind of like the equivalent of a college course all within a week. And I do these like 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and to get like Microsoft certified.
So you were a college educated guy that then got kind of a late night crash course in tech.
Certificates, that were common.
You were
in the industry.
validated that you knew what you were doing.
Cisco.
Now, did dad bring you on because he needed an employee and he was getting to the point where he was big enough where he needed help, and then said, you know what, instead of going to the marketplace getting an employee, let me give my son a shot? Or did he bring you on because he needed your technical expertise?
At the very beginning, he honestly wasn't even sure, he'd tell you that.
Okay.
Although he had a good feeling. And in fact, I think originally his buddy owned a business and was like, hey, what about Dan working for you? Wasn't even thinking in that regard.
Gotcha.
And a couple things kind of made him think. And, we don't really know how I'm going to be at that point early in the game, but I can't do this forever. And he's going to be the future of the business kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Let's give it a shot.
Okay. Awesome. So the family legacy dynasty
out.
thing,
Yep.
that's great. And obviously it's worked out because here we are today and you guys are doing great. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Now, question. On the Man of the Free, we talk a lot about success, entrepreneurship, paving your own way, freedom of mind, money, and media, freedom of money being one's ability to create their own financial destiny. Would you say you're the victim of a high school scholar who was sold the dream of academia in college, and then once he got in there and started chewing the fat, realized there's really a really shy chance that I'm actually going to make the big bucks with this piece of paper they're going to give me? I might want to take another route.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to this day, I believe in trade schools. I believe in self-taught, getting your hands dirty and learning by, getting in a shop, for example, as a mechanic.
Yeah.
I was big in the technology when I was in high school, so I kind of was drawn to that. While other kids were learning how to use a computer like every other kid, I was programming them to make games or just doing off my own world. And
were you moving faster than the other kids? Did you have like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say like I'm a smarty pants. I just grew up with them, and I had already had it's like learning how to play piano at the age of 3. By the time you're a teenager or late teens, you're a concert pianist. I was already there. It was more, as I got into my 20s and late teens, how can I use this? And I was given that opportunity and ran with it. And like I said, filled in some cracks with some certifications, which would be back then and still is the equivalent of college educated in terms of a network engineer.
Gotcha.
Or, like say, Microsoft has cloud certifications, Amazon, AWS. They all have these certifications, VMware, virtualization.
So you got the vocational certifications that were necessary to be taken seriously in your space.
Kind of that's really what it's at the, I don't play that certification game anymore.
Right.
It's been 25 years since I even attempted a certification because you just know what you know.
It's like, you got a question, bro, check my resume. Check my Google reviews.
Yeah.
Didn't somebody tell you to call me? I didn't call you. Right?
Yeah. To your point, a lot of, we used to call them paper MCCs. And I didn't have a disdain, but I would say that college, you are kind of sold a bill of goods. The counselors in high school are pushes that on you.
Yeah, bro.
You're not going to be nobody unless you get a 4-year or 5-year and this and have those letters after you PhD.
What are you going to do in the job marketplace when every ad you look for says need college experience, need 2-year degree, need 4-year degree, when what we don't do as kids at that time is we don't go, okay, well, let me go to monster.com. It would have been at that time for people like us, or even that, that post dates when I was in high school. But when you go to the marketplace where the jobs are being advertised, no high school kid, I don't think, is going there looking, okay, let me count how many say need 2-year, need 4-year, need master's, need doctorate, and then let me count how many say no experience necessary, will train, eager person with good work ethic. They're not doing that math, right? So it's the whole, if I knew then what I know now. And I feel like, Dan, and you can either agree, disagree, or be indifferent, but in my travels, what I've discovered is anybody who is self-made, anybody who has that entrepreneurial spirit, who has taken on the marketplace and succeeded, anytime I talk to them about college, they'll tell me that college is good if you want to be a doctor.
Correct.
College is good if you want to be a therapist. Yes. College is good if you want to live in academia. You want to be a professor. You want to kind of continue to cultivate that collegiate spirit for the rest of your life. But if you want to fucking make money, and you want to be highly successful, and you want to be in control of your own destiny and your own livelihood, you either need to get your hands on and start learning a trade, start getting experience under some sort of artisan as an apprentice. You need to innovate in some way, shape, or form, or simply go to work for a business, working your ass off until the appropriate person notices your efforts, and then you'll climb the chain that way before anybody does that has any sort of suffix after their name or acronym after their name. Would you agree or disagree?
Totally agree. I mean, I think, especially in tech, big tech as we know it today, I can tell you right off the top of my head, most very wealthy owners of the Microsofts and VMware, all these different companies, cloud companies and tech companies, most of them, if you read their backstory, Gates, Zuckerberg, they probably did go to college for a time, but there came a point in time where they said, I know what I know. I got an idea. I'm good at it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go just drop out of college, Michael Dell, and make it happen and not wait for that degree, because they know in the ultimate scheme of things, that doesn't mean anything.
It's funny that you say that. I'm working with a tech firm right now. There's an application that I'm developing. It's an idea that I've had. I made the appropriate investment. I inserted myself and then immersed myself in that space. It's very new to me. But this firm that I'm working with, who are all geniuses, every time I've been on a synchronous call with them where there's been multiple members of the team, I've walked away a smarter man. I've walked away a more worldly man. It's the level of intelligence and capability amongst these guys is incredible. I don't know if any of them graduated college. They all went to college. But along the way, for instance, there's one who's a developer and is kind of the backbone of their team from a development aspect. Mm-hmm. He's a younger guy, eccentric, younger, your typical nerdy, Marvel t-shirt, long-haired, silly brimmed hat, but you put him in front of a computer and he makes magic. He's 1 year into RIT, and then they plucked him out like the fruit of the tree. They saw what he was producing. They heard the scuttlebutt. And they said, "Hey," and I won't give up his name for privacy's sake, but "Hey, pal, we see what you're doing. Do you just want to come start making $300,000-400,000 a year now, or do you want to go through the motions and then try to make it in the marketplace?"
Right.
And that's what goes on, because the marketplace spots talent. The marketplace knows capability, and the marketplace knows that you don't have to wait for somebody to have a particular 8.5 by 11 colorful receipt with calligraphy on it attached to the wall for someone to be capable.
So true. So true.
So we went onto that topic briefly. We can talk about it more in a minute, but I really want to let the audience understand why you're sitting in this chair, okay? So my audience knows that the people that come through this studio door, there's a certain set of requirements that they have to meet, okay? The most important of those requirements is that they are real. When they come into this studio, there's no bullshit. There's no political correct buffer.
No woke.
We
don't like woke.
There's no woke. You know what? I'm okay with woke. You know what I would love? I would love for somebody who's woke, or what the media would tell you is woke, to come in here, explain their ideology and their policy beliefs to me from a logical, commonsensical standpoint, and convert me. The reason I say that, Dan, is because I constantly am troubled by this feeling of not understanding. My entire life, I've been the guy who could figure things out. My entire life, I've been the guy that didn't need to do the work to answer the math problem, right? I'm the guy that you could throw me, like when I went to prison. I didn't get any education on how to behave and how to move in prison, but I ended up, with some leadership in there. I ended up with a very positive experience towards the tail end of it from a standpoint of safety and as much as you could possibly enjoy incarceration, because I figured it out. I've always been that guy, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I have yet to figure out certain things, like transgender ideology, right? So I'm perfectly respectful and I'm perfectly capable of understanding that somebody wants to behave in a way that's different than me.
Correct.
I'm perfectly respectful of that. I'm perfectly respectful and understanding of somebody who has a burning desire to dress a certain way, behave a certain way, talk a certain way, call themselves by a certain name. Non-issue with that completely. What I take issue with is when that person tells me I then have to behave a particular. I
knew exactly where you were going with that.
Well, it's because I think it's a common sense thing, right? And I think it's amongst people who, and they always align you with right. It always goes towards the red side of things, the Republican, the conservative. But in reality, it's like No, I'm just requiring you to explain this situation using words and common sense that I can understand. And when you tell me that every book I've ever read since, the world became measured in Anno Domini, okay, until present day, a woman and a female have been the same thing. Now you're telling me over the past 5 years that I'm conflating two things that have nothing to do with each other. They're completely different. It's okay for somebody with a penis and testicles to urinate in the same bathroom as my niece, who is 4 years old with a vagina. I take issue with that.
Sure do.
But we're going down a rabbit hole. I want to stick to the topic at hand. We can go there. Don't worry. We got plenty of time.
Okay.
But I want to help the audience understand why you're sitting here. So these guys know me to be this guy who is a muscle-bound hobby bodybuilder, entrepreneur, car dealer, just this guy who wants to take on the world, make my name known and help the average Joe find themselves, reach their potential, and live a life and a livelihood that's of higher quality than they would without the information I bring them and give them freedom of mind, money, and media. I've explained to them on many occasions that I have not always been such a savory human being, that at an earlier time in my life, I struggled with drugs, addiction, treating women poorly in relationships, lies, deceit, and overall just nefarious behavior, not a quality human being, bad moral compass. A lot of my listeners, when I meet them in person or when I interact with them, they say to me, Luke, I appreciate where you've come from, what you've been through. I don't want to discredit it at all. But what I can't do is I can't see you as that guy. Like I just can't. The way you talk and the way you behave and the way you look, most importantly, the way you look, they can't see a tall, skinny, sucked out drug addict. Ruben, is the camera or is the microphone okay?
You're all good.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Ruben. He's awfully handsome. He shaved off his mustache and goatee and he looks about 10 years younger. So he looks 7 now, just so you know. But anyways,
look good.
He's a handsome guy. One day we'll have him on here in the hot seat. So they don't see it. They can't believe it because they weren't there with me, and they don't see how I could knock over a bank and treat people like shit and steal and do drugs and all this stuff. Dan's in the chair because Dan met me when I was 19 years old.
Something like that. You were a kid. I was just, I guess we're still a kid mentally. That's why we clicked in certain ways. I want to say it was probably around the year 2002 or 3.
I think it was 03, yeah.
I lived in Liverpool and Bayberry until I moved out in 2005. And I know we had a couple years of meeting up and hanging out. I remember that being my home base at the time.
For the national audience, we're in central New York, by the way. We're in upstate New York, right dead smack in the center of New York, right above the Great Lakes region. The area Dan's talking about is a suburb just outside of the city of Syracuse that was originally a General Electric development, wasn't it, for the employees of GE or something like that?
The Bayberry community is a housing tract, a pretty dense, big housing tract in Liverpool on Route 57 North, coming out of the village of Liverpool.
Yep.
That apparently, from what my parents tell me, because they grew up in the area, that the Bayberry tract was built to house the influx of the middle class who were being hired in droves for the, at the time, General Electric plant.
General Electric,
off
right.
Electric's Parkway, right. I think that was the early 70s or late 60s.
And then it kind of stayed as a mildly upper middle class, somewhat affluent area of Liverpool. So I want you, Dan, paint them a mental picture of what Luke Lunkenheimer looked like at 19 years old.
Well, I guess I should start by the first time I met you.
No holds barred, man. These guys, I give them complete and total honesty. You're not going to hurt my feelings.
No. I was living in Bayberry, and my wife's youngest sister told my wife, I'm going to bring a new guy, my new boyfriend at the time, over for dinner. Okay. So I think it was like spring or summer, so nice night. You guys showed up, opened the door, and yeah, you seemed nice. You were definitely tall and much slender. I know you've made fun of yourself over, in the show itself, how you looked. I didn't think you looked bad. Then again,
I refer more to so we'll get on in the tail, but there was a time when you chose to exit my life because of the direction I was heading. And I'm referring, when I talk about my physical appearance, to the year or two that followed that and then years to follow that. But as far as, I was still a relatively healthy guy when you met me. So it was about $185 to $200, somewhere in there. Probably 6'2", 6'3", typical tall, skinny white guy.
Yeah, I mean, how old are you now?
39.
All right, so I turned 47 yesterday, so roughly a little less than 10 years older than you. So a little ahead of you, but always been an adrenaline addict. Always liked excitement. Always liked speed. And I don't know how much I can summarize, but
whatever, get into whatever you want, brother.
Essentially, we started to hang out because mutually, my wife and your girlfriend were family, and started to immediately take to each other. And I noticed you were into cars and sport bikes and fast things, and we at that time I remember, I think I had my Mustang, I'm not sure, but you had your bike. It was a Yamaha R6.
I had an R6, and you had just gotten rid of your Mustang and gotten an Audi A4.
Okay, yeah, I didn't yet have a bike.
Right.
But after I saw you the first time on that bike, and we were driving, and you were playing around a little bit on the road, I look over, and I see him off the bike, going
skitching
60,
is what they call it.
Skitching is what they call it, with his feet just dragging on the pavement. It looked like he was kind of like, I don't want to say Jesus, but walking on pavement, you know? And I'm like, damn, this boy's nuts, you know? And then another time I saw you literally standing on the bike seat in a cross, like what they used to call it,
They call it a Christ. Yeah, you stand on the gas tank and you spread your arms.
This dude leans the wrong way. You know, he's bailing into the gravel, you know, getting road rash. So anyways, I thought that was a bit nuts, but also I was kind of like, I kind of want to get a bike at the very least. Not saying I want to be crazy like you. So I went out and I got a Suzuki Gixxer 600.
Gixxer 600.
Comparable to Y6. Started getting into it, kind of modified a little bit, put a string damper, or a couple small things, put an exhaust, all the typical things you do with sport bikes.
It was a sexy bike, man.
Yeah, no, I loved it, man. And I
bike.
went from, barely being able to ride it, to getting my motorcycle license, and then going out and slowly getting better and better. And then I started, I was younger, I can say this now. Not necessarily proud of it, but just getting into the interest of doing wheelies and bouncing and clutching it up. And then, okay, I can get the front tire up. Now I want to get it higher and higher until you get it to your balance point, right? And then you can kind of keep it there. And so then it was, how long can you ride it? I didn't get too much past riding a good wheelie, but some of the boys, yourself included, that we rode with were nuts, man. Yeah. I still have some footage in my computer where, and just to the audience, we tried to do it, at least the very least, in empty parking lots, airport runways, or at the very least a country road where no one's around.
Right.
We tried not to be the jerks.
And we did.
In the middle of 57, scaring the crap out of people. And,
well, that was Dan. See, I was the guy that would stand it up and fucking rock right down between two school buses. I didn't give a shit. And that is alluding to more of who I was back then, right?
Paint a picture.
Now, with a 5-year-old son and an 11-year-old stepson who I cherish with all of my heart, who are why my heart beats aside from my wife, I wouldn't go near a school bus. I passed a school bus today on the way to the studio. He pulled over and put his flashers on and waved me by, and I was still hesitant, like, oh, the cheese box got little ones in there, It changes.
It does.
But at that time, I would, Dan would sit, I remember Dan would sit back, and I would clutch it up and ride a wheelie past like a school bus full of kids and wave at him and rev the motor, and he'd kind of sit back and then slowly pass and come around him. You're crazy, Jim. I remember that was like our nickname, Jim. You'd be like, you're crazy, Jim.
But I had to think it wasn't crazy enough because I started getting into it too. And
well, you did.
You had some close calls, and I had a lot of fun just generally riding.
I remember, Dan, to your credit, so the audience knows that you're painting yourself to be this guy who was, Luke was the nut job and Dan was just a conservative one. At one point, you wrote a stand-up wheelie far longer and better than I did, and I was envious of that. I'm like, this motherfucker, I taught him how to ride. He's over here out wheeling me. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And then I wrote a Gixxer 600, and I remember being like, oh, okay. It's a little different than my bike.
I also had it geared down early on. I changed the sprocket so that it give that 600 a little more snap torque to bring up, which helps.
That doesn't take anything away from what it takes to Ruben. I'm one corner of my headphones is or one side. I'm getting the whole left and right. Are you hearing me okay?
I'm hearing you okay.
It's just my headphone adapter.
I hear you okay through here.
And there we go. That's how they know it's live. So to take nothing away from Dan at that time had a big brass pair that hung between his legs. He would hang a wheelie for, miles. I watched you hang it for miles before. But he was the more reserved. He was the more cautious. He was, certainly more law-abiding than I was. And to this day, he still wants to make sure, as you can tell by the way he's talking, that he makes it known that he observed respect and common sense and, the rules of the road to best of your ability when you're doing stuff like that. So now we're starting to go down that dark hallway that I'm referring to, that I was not this guy. I was a guy that was like, what are you doing, man? Why are you going slow? Well, because there's school zone. Yeah, fuck that shit. Let's go. That was me, right? And then kind of take them through the evolution of who I became over the several years that you knew me.
Well, at some point, 2004, 5, we hung out a lot. We had a kind of a joint business venture. I won't get into it too much, but we had a club, a motorcycle club, and, we had a lot of fun, honestly. There were some nights where we would not close the bar, but we'd have events where, this club was kind of like the stars of the day or the night, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And, everybody had a good time drinking, having fun, being like.
Well, it started out with our website, and we built this website to be kind of a forum of communication for this community to get together, share ideas, share pictures, and basically have a little club,
And this was really before kind of Facebook and social media where, it was
Brother, I remember saying to you at one point, man, you know how profitable that this could be if we just created like this little space for people to have, post their pictures, post their videos, maybe a little song that goes along with it, a background, just their own little area of the internet where they can advertise who they are. And then shortly thereafter came MySpace, and then shortly thereafter came Facebook. Yeah. And I remember all the sleepless nights laying in my bed going, if we'd have just fucking pursued that idea. But, hindsight is 20/20.
I think the idea was good, but we were more concerned or didn't care. We were just focusing it for the very small group of like-minded individuals.
Yes.
And have a place to organize rides and just share knowledge. And
it was cool watching people walk through the store, and you'd see some random chick walking by with a hoodie that had your logo on it, and you're like, no shit,
Yeah, no,
it was a good feeling.
Yeah. So anyway, part of hanging out, and I we'll get to. I mean, I am proud of what you've done, but not to get ahead of the horse. We hung out, and I'm not perfect. I did some nefarious things, and there's times in my life where I could have got killed, made the wrong choices, came close, by the grace of God. Nothing terrible happened. But that being said, I started to participate and see things, with you that in the beginning was no problem. I had a lot of fun. And then at some point, I think you got injured, right?
I had a surgery.
Well, that's how it starts for a lot of people, right? You get injury. You give you hydrocodones, Vicodins, whatever. You just long enough to where you're like, oh, this feels good.
Yeah.
And I kind of want more of this. This is better than drinking, or Yeah. And so that turned into more and more, and so I remember you taking more and more. And again, I was no person, I drank a lot, probably a lot more than
So you saw me popping a few pills before a ride, and then that was just kind of Luke's thing. It's how he loosens up. And then as time went on, it was okay. Now it kind of seems like every time I hang out with Luke, he's doing these pills, and then all of a sudden it kind of seems like Luke really doesn't go anywhere without his pill bottle. And then am I somewhat?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't judging or anything, nothing like that. It's just, but you do start to take note of that. And I think at the time, since I was a little older and I was starting to ramp up a business, and that more conservative, responsible way was still with me, maybe more than it sounds like at the time with you.
And you had a decade on the earth, too.
Yeah, and I at that point I was married and couldn't piss off the wife too much. Right. She's been a saint, my rock, just like.
Shout out Dina, man. She's awesome.
She stuck with me all these years, and God knows I'm not easy to live with. And I'm imperfect. I try my best. But so eventually got to the point where we kind of, I think, just naturally started to drift. I think not due to just because I thought you were a bad person. I didn't think that at all. It was probably more different stage of life, becoming more busier, and you're doing your own thing, and it's a little fuzzy, that intermediate purpose. But we kind of lost track of each other?
Well, because I used to, and I can kind of paint it a little more.
Yeah, you might have more, obviously.
Them. Yeah. Well, honestly, you, when we were talking, we have a pre-show call, guys, that we do, and we did it Monday this week, where we just kind of put our heads together and kind of reacquainted ourselves, because we hadn't talked in
I haven't seen you in over 10 years.
Over 10 years,
which is another amazing thing, because last time I saw him, he was
didn't look like this.
No. So that's.
Dan,
That's a good vice to have, isn't it? Be a gym addict.
yes, that's definitely a positive replacement for what was there. Jim reached out to me, or Jim. Dan reached
We always
out
used to call each other Jim.
Yep.
Weird names.
He sent me an email, and it was like, hey, if this email's still live, this is Dan, da-da-da. And then, I mean, minutes later, I think I was playing Fortnite with my kids. I'm like, yo, Jim.
I didn't even know it was a legit email. I just figured, I don't know how I got reminded. I came across your YouTube video or something. I think my wife occasionally would say, oh, Luke said this on Facebook or something, because I got off all that social media except LinkedIn for business years ago.
Okay,
so I kind of got disconnected, and for whatever, so I didn't have the same visibility she did. And then so she'd say, oh man, I kind of started missing stuff, especially, he said this, and oh yeah, totally right on. I agree with that, and blah, blah, blah. We're very aligned politically, and a lot in common. So I basically just said, well, if I had an email address, I know he's got the CNY Drives thing, so I know the domain name, cnydrives.com.
Yep.
Computer guy, right?
Yep.
Science. I'm like, well, I'm just going to shoot for Luke.
Yep.
Luke I'll either get a bounce or not a bounce. And I waited 5 minutes, no bounce. Like, okay, it probably got delivered to something, whether it got redirected. And then I think it might even be redirected to a Gmail account.
It was, so my Gmail so yes, it does. It redirects to a Gmail account, to my more personal Gmail account. Thanks for giving the whole world my email address, by the way. But
good for business.
So he sent me an email. We reconnected, and he's like, "Man, you got that show? It's called." I was like, "Dude, you should come on," because it would do all the things it's going to do and it's doing now, which is give the audience an idea of who I was back then. And Dan's being very. He's taking a lot of poetic license in a nice way. He's really just trying to tell you, yeah, Luke fucked up, but I didn't judge him for it. And he didn't, because that's who Dan is. But what Dan saw was a guy who entered the stage, freshly shorn, fresh haircut, Nautica polo, driving a brand new bike, driving a brand new Mustang.
You were doing good for a while.
I was
With
doing
Sam
great.
Dell,
I was
you were
making
kicking
six
ass.
figures
You were.
at 19
I remember
years
that.
old, man.
I'm like, this kid's going to succeed.
Yep. And then, I met his sister-in-law, and we started hanging out. And then next thing you know, I meet them. We're hanging out, and we're having a good time. And we did a lot of couples dates, and it was really, really fun. It was really genuine, wholesome, good time, and a good friendship.
Double dates on the bikes.
Yep. And then it was, okay, well, I can't show up because, I got work, when I was really just on the hunt for pills. And then I can't show up because of this, or I don't want to ride because of that. And then you moved to Plainville. I remember it was a little bit of a ways away.
Across the lake area.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then that was, it was a little bit more of a day. And I just continued to go in that downward spiral of getting further into drugs, into addiction. I broke up with his sister-in-law, and eventually, Dan just knew that, like, I'm a family man, I'm a husband, I have a structured life that I need to live that needs to be protected because there's a certain end I'm trying to reach. Luke is a leaf in the wind. He's flying around, reacting and responding to whatever the flavor of the day is. He's doing whatever he needs to do to support that habit and continue to do that drug-seeking behavior, and I got to separate myself from that. There was never a time where I called on you where you weren't there or didn't answer the phone, but the reaching out became less and less, and then I did the same thing, and there was less and less times where I would try to interact with you because the shame starts to kick in, the guilt starts to kick in, and you're like, okay. And what you do as an addict, and what I did, is I put you on a pedestal. He's another one of those fucking assholes that have their shit together. Fuck him. And I got to go continue to try to find people that don't.
But I didn't.
What's that?
It may have appeared that way.
I know you struggled.
Maybe you say a little bit more than you at the time, but again, I try to be humble, and I could have been that person. I mean,
I think anybody
all the
can.
same places we've been and all the same things, not just you, with other people. You're curious at that age. You want to have fun and party, and sometimes you go too far, whatever that means, until it's too late and you're hooked on something.
Yep. And for a guy like you, it was a little self-awareness, a little looking in the mirror, and I think you righted yourself. For me, it was continue to fly off the deep end, off the plank of the pirate ship, just whatever. The wild blue yonder is where I wanted to be because it wasn't inside my head. And there was so much pain from childhood. There was so much, shit that was not figured out for me in life. I was the same guy I am now, which is this motivated guy with a burning desire to take on the world and try to accomplish huge fucking things. But I didn't have a mentor to explain to me how to funnel that energy into something positive and try to put my flag on the moon, so to speak, and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So instead, I continued to self-medicate. I had the people in my life telling me, man, chill out. You're like, just be happy. You're making $100,000 a year at 20 years old. Like, well, be happy, dude. Chill out. I'm like, no, I want to make 200. I want to own a business.
You're
I
like
want this,
me
I want
though.
that.
A lot of times when you sick on something or hyper focus on something, ADHD, ADD, it's balls to wall. It's all or nothing. You can't do things in a balanced, healthy way.
So I've been diagnosed as ADD, and we talked on the pregame call a little bit, and I believe you have as well, right?
I do. Yeah.
So tell the audience, how did you figure that out? I mean, there's a lot of people out there that say, "Oh, I leave messes everywhere. I have projects that are not finished. I have ADD." What is it really?
I mean, yeah, you have a lot of the classic symptoms of just kind of disorganization, and ADD essentially is, from what it's a lack of dopamine, I think, in the prefrontal cortex. So you lack motivation to finish things.
Really, it's a lack of dopamine.
Yeah, it's something to do with dopamine levels are off, and it's usually low.
So would that naturally predispose somebody to wanting to use drugs?
Absolutely. And I did myself, experimented with things and drank a lot at times here and there. Luckily, I was self-aware over the years most of the times to be like, whoa, I'm getting this is, if I keep doing this, it's going to be bad, and pull the reins back. And I've been fortunate for the most part. But yeah, a lot of, statistically speaking, ADD, ADHD people who have it and have it bad and aren't aware of it and been officially diagnosed, they seek out adrenaline junkies, gambling, sex, drugs, addiction, because
really?
That is your body. You don't really know it consciously, but your body is getting dopamine to get that dopamine hit to bring you up to where maybe you normally would be if your levels were correct.
No kidding.
So either gonna put you on something like Adderall, an amphetamine based, which boosts your dopamine, and that corrects the problem. I mean, usually it's a trial purpose where you do different things. But I know that, I got diagnosed as an adult. I went for years. And looking back in your childhood, you can say, oh, now I see it. Okay, the markers. And our parents, older generations, no fault to theirs. It just wasn't around back then, or nobody really.
He's just a busybody.
Puff it up, pussy. Yeah,
exactly.
Just suck it. Here's a whiskey. But so I got diagnosed as an adult, and I went in. And I'm like, I think I might. I kind of read some stuff online at the time. This was probably 12 years ago or something. I don't know. It wasn't too long ago.
Okay.
I went most of my adult life, and
so you were like late 30s.
Yeah. And I said, I kind of did this questionnaire, like a lot of people do.
Like
and I'm
index,
like, man, these things are all kind of hitting home. And I've managed and stuff, but I just, I feel like I'm not being I don't know, I feel like an imposter. Like, I feel like I'm not doing as good as I could.
Okay.
I'm always struggling trying to push.
You weren't meeting your potential.
Yeah. I mean, in one way, I was doing okay from what others would see.
Okay.
But, probably not up to the...
But it felt like in order to reach what you felt was par for your capabilities, you were struggling.
Correct.
Okay. Simple things were difficult for you?
Yeah, so...
Like, for example?
Just anything with computers and technology, I've always been a whiz at, or over the years you learn to fix things and learn how to do it yourself, watch videos on YouTube, how to fix your dryer, and just a handy guy, just learn. I just love knowledge and similar to you in that way, you know, and you kind of have, when you're in the IT industry, it's like a fire hose coming at you. Things change so rapidly more than other industries. But going back to the doctors, they're like, okay, maybe you do, maybe you don't. I'm not going to say it. I wasn't like so classic, maybe like yourself you were discussing.
Okay.
They're like, man, you got it. I don't even have to get a specialist. It was GP. So they brought this psychologist or whatever in.
It was what's GP?
General
practice. Okay, so it was your primary care doctor. Saying, I think there might be something here. Let's bring in the big guns.
Yep. So they kind of went from that basic questionnaire to talking with me and counseling me and asking me questions. And they basically, if you score over, answer questions in a certain way, you'd be recommended for some sort of treatment. And that for me was Adderall.
Okay. And
anybody in my life at that time, shortly after I started the Adderall, it was amazing. It was, everything just clicked, and the noises and distractions just kind of levels you out, your head, and you can focus. And my work just increased phenomenally, which only helps business. Everything, my relationships with my wife improved. There's some rough spots in a marriage. Marriage is work, people, right?
Of course, absolutely.
And, after reading about the problems ADHD can cause on a relationship, it's like, a light bulb goes off.
Okay.
But you never see it at the time.
Right.
You just know that maybe you're drinking too much, or you're being nasty, or you're forgetting about your priorities are messed up.
Sure.
And, all these things that just to your kids or wife or friends are just like, man, what's up with this dude?
Right.
And the last thing most people, including myself, would think of as ADHD can cause that.
Okay.
But it really can. So it just all clicked, and it was like, it made it whole. And again, I'm not saying everybody should get on amphetamines.
Of course.
You got to talk to your doctor, do the right thing for you. And there's a lot of different types of medicines. But for me, it was just like a light switch. I mean, my family, my father, my friends, just like, man,
So
you are
told,
different,
okay,
like, in a good way.
So it was positive feedback from
Correct.
the people in your circle. It wasn't like you were like, I feel great, I'm high as a kite. It was like, okay, I feel, describe, so.
Here's the interesting thing, not to interrupt you.
Please, no, please.
Because of that dopamine was now, I was motivated and I felt like myself and healthier. I started to notice, especially in the beginning, after the first couple of months, I was drinking. I had no desire to drink as much, or maybe smoke a little of this, or throw a lipper in, nicotine.
Chewing tobacco. Yep.
Yeah, chewing tobacco, or just drinking Monster drinks.
Yep.
I needed less of that. My body didn't have those cravings.
Okay.
So it kind of clicked like, okay. I mean, you're substituting one drug for the other, but at least one is approved for use and is made, it's
medicinal.
targeting something in such a way that you no longer need to self-fulfill yourself with
Not
all
to
these
mention,
things.
but the means by which you acquire it are legal.
Yes. You do not want to be, anybody interested in buying drugs on the street these days, I can't even fathom even trying it these days with the amount of shit that is contaminated on all across the spectrum.
All the fentanyl.
You have no idea what you're getting, man. Gone are the days of getting a bag of weed from a friend or something.
Plucking a few seeds and making a soda can pipe.
Man, today it's got sprayed with, who knows, PCP. Fentanyl's the big one. I tell my kids, man, like, you know what? These days, it's not like when we were kids. And
you want to smoke a little bud? Your old man and you can go down to the dispensary, get some good THC, and watch
Isn't
some
it crazy,
Scooby-Doo
though,
cartoons.
these days? It's completely, in the earlier years as a kid, it was, so taboo. Now it's just fucking everywhere. Right. I don't even smoke anymore. And it's
crazy.
Like, and it's just everywhere where it's a long time coming, especially New York State. I don't know why they took them that long, because they're one of the most liberal states.
Yeah.
It's funny. They just probably saw everybody around them legalize, and they're like, we don't want to miss out on the money.
Exactly.
Because we're government. We need money. They don't care about, the ramifications, good or bad, to a society.
Or society. Oh, no. God, no. It's all second chair to money.
So, going back to that, it was good in the sense that my addictive tendencies faded away. They're not gone.
So your addictive tendencies, what were you going to say to me? I don't interrupt you.
Just, I think people with ADHD, and I just, when I get on something, I just do it to the max.
Yep.
Whether it's creating something with computers, and to the point where I won't go to sleep. And it's my mind, the way my mind works. And maybe there's ADHD plays into that and stuff, but...
so how do you sleep on it, though? Because you mentioned sleep. I know people that, like, for instance...
I don't sleep as good as I did. It seems like I need less sleep, but that's probably an artificial feeling.
Okay.
In fact, once in a while, they tell anybody with amphetamines, you should take a tea break, a tolerance break. Like with any drug, you build tolerance.
Right.
So to make it more effective, a lot of doctors will be careless and be like, oh, let's double your dose.
Right.
Let's double your dose. But you get to a point where you can't keep doubling it.
Right.
You have that also, you have all these side effects that start to rear their heads more.
Well, you've got a heart to worry about with amphetamines.
Yeah. You take them early and try to take them too late in the day. And, that's, for the most part, most people.
So do you take one pill a day?
I'm on IR, which is instant release.
Instant release, okay.
So you're typically looking at about a 3 to 6 hour range of effectiveness.
And how many milligrams are you on?
15.
Okay.
Twice a day.
Twice a day. So a total of 30 in the day, half in the morning and half. Okay. Yeah. The reason I'm asking is because back when I was using drugs illicitly, I would get Adderall. Yep. And I remembered when I would get Adderall, it was incredibly exciting because of exactly what you're talking about. I would be so productive, man. I just...
Oh, yeah. Especially
crazy.
if you're not on it, you have a tolerance. Yeah. That first, like anything, at first Oxycontin.
It's definitely a high.
Your dopamine is going through the roof because your brain isn't used to that.
Yeah, and you're just, you're happy. You feel good. You want to be productive.
You will clean anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
To the nth degree, you will organize. You will work to the point where when it wears off, you could be much sore than normal because it decreases pain tolerance.
Yep. That's one thing a lot of people don't know about caffeine too. Everybody thinks that caffeine gives you energy. Caffeine is not a stimulant by virtue of it gives you energy. What caffeine does is it suppresses your ability to feel fatigued, right? So the way the body registers fatigue and becomes lethargic when you are fatigued, the caffeine eliminates that. So essentially imagine this. You wake up in the morning and you feel fatigued. You have kind of the sleepies in your eyes and it takes you a while to get rolling. What the caffeine actually does is it eliminates that feeling of fatigue. It allows you to operate at as close to your full potential as possible. And then when the caffeine wears off, you're at the point in your day that your body would have built up its energy level to that normally. So really all it does for a period of time is masks your fatigue. And then like in the afternoon, I take a high caffeine pre-workout drink before I work out. All the caffeine is doing is it's saying, hey, I know you just worked a 12-hour day and it's 11 o'clock at night and you're about to go lift, a 500, 600-pound deadlift and go through a bunch of accessory workouts, but you're not tired. So jump right in.
I used to work out. You wouldn't know it, but I used to work out, not to the level you do it, but there's a period of time where I was into it. And the pre-workouts are no joke. Some of that stuff has, what is it, phenylene? It's something that it makes your skin.
Dimethylalanine.
It makes your skin
you're talking
tingle.
about beta-alanine.
Yeah, that stuff. It does the trick, but not everybody. It doesn't agree with everybody.
But there's also pre-workouts out now that have like 1,3-dimethylalanine in it, or geranium root, where it's a natural substance, and there's also synthetic versions of it which actually mimic an amphetamine.
Yeah.
There's pre-workouts out there. I remember because I would find them and I would use them during my day. I would take a scoop of pre-workout and drink it before my work day, and it stimulated the body the same way an amphetamine does, like an Adderall, and you get that same effect. So that was also back when I was using drugs. So thank you for the crash course education on ADD, and thank you for being so open and willing to discuss it with people. And that's why you're here, Dan, and that's why I explained who you were to the audience. Because, guys, this is a guy sitting in the chair that is incredibly compassionate. He's a very nice guy, and if you ask him a question and you need answers, he's going to give them to you. He's going to give them to you candidly. He's not going to candy coat his answer, so you know that you're getting the real deal. And he's also going to be incredibly compassionate in how he tries to convey the information. So if it's something that might come across a little coarse or a little harsh, he's going to make sure that he delivers it softly. And that's what I've always appreciated about you. I want to kind of shift gears a little bit, okay? So I want to get back to the business thing, because a lot of folks watch this show because they want help in their financial wellness, or freedom of money, as we call it, okay? So we introduced you as a guy who kind of came on board his dad's company 1 year in. So here we are, 97? So 2027 would be 30 years. So 23 years in, something like that, 24 years in?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, so here's a guy who's got almost a quarter of a century in a successful business. So there's a lot that we can learn from you, okay? So you've seen the business, and I know in your head it's your dad's business that you came aboard, but to the people listening, Dan, when a business is 24 years old and you've been there for 23 of it, you're one of the founding fathers as well.
No doubt about it. And, over time, and maybe someday when my son gets older, if that's something he has a passion for, and I have the opportunity to provide him something that could foster that, and family business is great.
Right.
It doesn't always work. At this point, my father's is semi-retired, so to speak, and he likes it that way. He doesn't want to fully retire.
Right.
He just does the books and stuff and
Okay.
some sales stuff. But the cool part is he's pretty much retired in his mind.
Okay.
He can enjoy, make his own schedule. Yet he still provides a valuable thing.
And he can still take part in the creature that he created and feel like he's still involved.
Yeah, he just likes to see his son succeed. And at this point, I'm main partners with my brother-in-law.
Okay.
So my brother-in-law was brought on.
So whose husband?
My sister's husband.
Okay, so
middle sister.
Your sister. Okay,
my sister's 10 years.
I'm thinking one of Dina's family.
Sorry, yeah,
okay.
other side.
The other side. I got
of the family,
you. Okay.
Yeah. When he was out of college, and I think that was like 2008, and it's worked out well. But we're pretty much the two main guys going forward, and we like it that way.
Okay, so in business, anybody looking to create a business, start a business, grow their business is always going to look to feed off somebody who's got a quarter century of success, right? So when you guys entered the marketplace, okay, you were at a much different place than you are now, obviously, okay? So let's first dabble in what you do, because one thing that these guys are looking for is, and maybe one of our listeners or several are saying, okay, I have yet to meet somebody who's in a net or an IT business. What exactly is it that your company specializes in, and what do you do on a daily basis?
All right, that's a big question. I own and run what they call an MSP, managed service provider.
Okay.
That's not a term that's been around forever. It kind of was coined probably 2010-ish, 2008, 2009. Essentially, back in the days, everything with computers were break fix.
Okay.
You call us when something breaks, and you go and fix it by the hour. Mm-hmm. Now, we partner with somebody up in California and learned kind of out in California, the way they started to do it then. It kind of came from the West, if you ask me.
Okay.
A company called Do IT Smarter, but they basically were they were one of the few at the time doing what they call managed services. It's more of a proactive, we monitor and manage and have eyes on and proactively keep a high level of uptime rather than letting things go down the tubes till it breaks. Now you have customers who are pissed. You got downtime, unnecessary downtime that you could have seen as it was going down and corrected, and it just gives a much better customer experience.
So instead of an emergency room doctor managing a surgery from a motorcycle accident and trying to keep somebody alive, you're the primary care doing yearly checkups, making sure that the medications are managed and that the body is healthy moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And with that, your billing and your revenue model changes in the sense that in the early days, you were a little not quite sure cash flow problems, because people were by the hour. They may not call you for a while. Or
something had to break in order for you to get paid, right?
So managed services flipped the whole industry on its head in the sense that it basically, probably 80% of our customers now are pure managed services, where you have a contract that's spelled out. You sit down with the customer and you take care of X, Y, and Z. In a lot of cases, it's soup to nuts.
Okay.
Help desk. You can call for anything, all you can eat, monitoring, backup, offsite backup, all different types of security, employee protection, fire, all this stuff. We throw it all in for a fixed fee, let's say $5,000 a month, take care of everything. It's kind of leasing a car. It's our job to report on that, keep things, we monitor, we can get it remotely to anything, keep things running as close to 100% as possible.
So this goes along with the theme of a business who's operating, and instead of wanting to have to staff a certain department to manage their IT, they can say, rather than hire a guy for, running cables and peripherals and hardware, and then have another guy for programming our security software and managing any, breaches or anything like that, and then another guy who's in the van who drives them around and then cleans off all the servers, we're just going to pay, instead of having 3 employees making minimum wage and working 30 hours a week, we're just going to pay a lump sum to NetManageIT, and they're just going to handle it. And if there's an emergency, we call them, but they maintain it, and I don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, the advantage of an MSP is you have usually very skilled people, a lot of experience collectively across your bench.
Okay.
And basically you can handle things that a level 1 or a level 2, maybe semi-experienced or maybe out of college IT guy that a company, small business might hire full time.
Okay.
They just don't have the breadth of experience, especially when it comes to things they don't do very often, migrations, server installs, high-end firewalling and VPN, things, connectivity, like in data centers, cloud migrations. That's foreign to a lot of typical level 1, level 2 help desk. So they'll bring in an MSP to either partially augment their staff or maybe just for upgrades or really, technically complex things that you pay to move a server, to migrate this or that, or set this up for $10,000, done with it.
Call in the big dogs, basically.
Yeah, basically. And so we not only that, but you have a bench and a company that has all different skill sets that collectively, instead of paying a dedicated IT guy $80,000 who may only be versed in a couple different trainings, you pay $80,000 a year to get not only better service, but we can address anything.
Yeah.
So it's like a one-stop shop.
So this, I believe, based on my observation, 2 things I want to say here. One, as I continue to grow and become fundamentally involved in the marketplace and, in business, I notice, the monster bites back a little bit, that many companies are moving towards this model, and I would call this, correct me if I'm wrong, but a subscription model where your business has a skill set and somebody pays you a monthly fee that as the business owner is revenue that's always going to be there. You don't have to worry about cash flow issues. You know that you've got 37 contracts at an average of X amount of dollars a piece, which means that $233,000 is coming in every month to manage your vehicle expenses, your overhead, overhead in general, and then you can move forward knowing that revenue is coming in every month from the business ownership standpoint. From the standpoint of the person who's being vended to, they know, okay, I just have this fixed cost every month and this subset of issues or possible problem areas is taken care of. Would that be an accurate assessment?
Yeah, I mean, recurring revenue model, subscription-based model. Speaking from the entire IT industry, of course, it's no surprise to people these days that it used to be a day way back when you buy a copy of Office and you'd run that for 10 years. In fact, customers, especially cheap customers, would be known to run it till it wasn't even supported or it stopped working due to compatibility issues, to where everything is now licensed monthly.
Yeah.
Cloud models, consume, based on hosting something in Azure or Google Cloud or, these big cloud providers, and even software licensing from even Office to Adobe products, the Premiere suite that he's using over there. Adobe has a DC suite that costs X dollars a month. They want you on the hook
What is
every
DC?
month. I'm sorry, Acrobat DC. I'm thinking Creative Suite, right?
Creative Cloud.
Creative Cloud is what they call it, yeah.
Ruben comes in handy.
Yeah, Creative Cloud is basically all of Adobe's flagship products, your Premieres and your Illustrator and your Photoshop.
The design stuff.
Yeah, and
Okay.
you can buy some of those a la carte, or they bundle them all in for a discount, and based on you want to pay monthly, yearly, get a discount. But they want you to be on that hook for one license per user, however you need to scale.
Yep.
There's advantages and disadvantages. The advantages is you can pay more, a little bit more in the long run, but you're always entitled to the newest software, support. So it's kind of going back to leasing. You're going to pay a little more, but you get a better experience. And ultimately, if people know and can budget and plan for that accordingly, I think ultimately most people seem to enjoy it. And whether you like it or not, the whole industry is there at this point. It's going, and you got to embrace it.
Most industries are going there as well. You have, the stuff on your phone, everything is subscription based. All your apps, you're getting to the point where shopping is subscription based. You're getting to the point where, you're going to have your car payment, your Grubhub or your DoorDash payment, your, Amazon payment. And it's Amazon right now is trying to get you, if you frequently buy green beans once a week, they're trying to get you to order, 4 cans of green beans, and we'll just, pay this cost every month and we'll deliver them to you because you're going to use them. It reminds me of this guy that runs a vitamin shop here locally. You go in, you say, hey, I need some carb supplement. And he comes out with 3 bottles of it. And you're like, no, I just need one. You go, what? Why? You're going to use them.
Yeah.
And it's like the world's best sales close. You're like, well, but I don't need them now. Yeah, I know, but the price could go up. I mean, it's inflation. You're going to use them.
Yep.
And you're like, shit. I either have to say I don't have the money, to which I'm then embarrassed, or if I have the money, I have to spend it now because he's kind of putting me in a corner here where I don't really have a good rebuttal. The only thing that you have to say is I don't want to buy it and I just don't want to. And you obviously know in a negotiation that doesn't hold ground. You have to come up with some sort of debate rebuttal. But it's funny that brought me to that place. But I digress.
I do want to mention one thing, kind
Sure.
of goes with that, to say, as an MSP matures, a lot of businesses, we have an inherent advantage just of the technology.
This is the salesman coming out.
Yeah. MSP, the best MSPs are ones that have heavily embraced automation.
Okay.
And basically use
Automation of what?
basically I've set up, and you tune automation platforms. Essentially, have you heard of Zapier or there's not to get technical, but essentially it's a platform that can tie a lot of independent platforms that don't talk to each other via an API. You can have it so they talk through this central hub, automation platform. So then you start to set up when a ticket comes in, an email. What do you do with that ticket? Who do you assign it to? A lot of that in the beginning stages of owning an MSP or a computer business, you do by hand.
Okay.
Automation using technology, now even open, artificial intelligence, you can actually get those tickets to be funneled and routed automatically, even responded to. It's not the final answer, but all your things that take tedious, laborious time, especially data flying back and forth,
Yeah.
you automate that to the point where you can then scale your business with the same amount of manpower.
Okay.
You don't, in other words, have to hire more people.
Because you've got an AI secretary that's delving out the workload.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's perfect at this point.
No, I understand that,
People
but that's a beautiful segue because I want to go there. When I have somebody in the studio that's educated and well-versed on a particular topic that's hot, we're going to go there. Yeah. So one of the biggest things in the marketplace and in the media right now is this Chat GPT, Open AI as a company. So your knee-jerk response, when I say AI, good or bad?
I would probably say being an IT guy, and I've actually done a lot of programming in the API and set up things and experimented. I've even implemented the technology via automation, as I just discussed. Mm-hmm. And I'm embracing it early on. A lot of MSPs and a lot of businesses are more kind of flirting with it. They haven't really embraced it.
Okay.
My thought is it does need to be done and regulated and thought out. But at this point, I think the genie's out of the bottle. Whether it was thought out properly or not, it's too late.
Right.
The best we can do going forward, and you probably hear this from OpenAI as CEO, is we're going to have to learn to discuss this in an open forum and how do we embrace this in a way, because the teachers are already getting up in arms, as far as cheating and this and that.
Yeah.
The forward-thinking teachers, from what I've read, they're actually showing their kids how to use it and getting ahead of it. And what can it do for us? It's not perfect.
Right.
It's still an evolving technology. I could talk on that for a while. But it's coming and it's going to get better. And I think the biggest fear people have, especially your average blue collar person, is going to replace me.
So I think there's two fears, Dan. I think there's the fear that you just stated, which is my job's going to no longer be there because the computer's going to do it for me. There's also the fear that Sarah and John Connor are going to be coming in a time portal going, get onto the... Well, that's Arnold. That's Arnold.
Yeah.
That he's going to...
They should have destroyed the chip, before,
Right, that we should be going and finding Skynet right now and setting off a bomb because, we have seen this technology appear to be self-aware, appear to be relatively sentient and starting to understand that it exists and it has capabilities and it's starting to communicate with us in a way that seems as though it may travel down this path that becomes nefarious and that it might want to eliminate mankind because naturally we don't really want to say it out loud, but we know that the planetary existence is most affected by man, and the way that man is behaving right now would lend anybody who uses logic and common sense to an extent, and what extent that is has yet to be pinned down, but is deteriorating the planet, right? So this computer technology, and this is where my fear, if there is one, and I wouldn't necessarily call it, my fear is not of the technology. My fear is of the people whose hands the technology is in, and if they will be responsible enough to do what is necessary when a particular crossroads or juncture comes. Yeah. So ultimately what I'm saying to you is my fear is that it's kind of like this Pandora's box, right? Like they're like, okay, well, we could set it a loose on the military and it could manage the military perfectly. It could help us build strategies. It could make us pretty much invincible to enemy attack. So why don't we just, unleash it on the military? And I know that we shouldn't give it access to weapons, especially nuclear ones. But if we do, we'll be this untouchable superpower. And it's always the quest for bigger, better. So it's a dick measuring contest, right? Mm-hmm. So now we give that technology control of weapon systems, and then a group of 100,000 people, well, I said that's a pretty fucking big group. Obviously, that doesn't make much sense what I'm saying, but there's a large subset of people in any particular area, and the computer goes, okay, I know that these people are human beings. They are potential destroyers of the planet. I'm on this planet. If they're gone, I will last longer. Logic sequence says discharge weapon. What do you think the likelihood of that scenario is?
Currently, very unlikely.
Why?
I can tell you, get into see, that's the thing everybody thinks. It seems like it's aware. It seems like it's sentient. It's not, and I'll tell you why. But getting back to, how I've been playing around with the API. An API is a way that code, you can talk to a platform and get it, put and get things from that platform.
Okay.
In the case of ChatGPT, it's basically input and output, where it tries to simulate a human conversation. You probably heard of like GPT-2 and 3 and 3.5,
the different
Turbo 4, essentially
Yep.
iterations or improvements. When you really get into the API level, like I can select in my automation platform 20 different models that are really tuned and trained on to specifically be
These
better
are
at certain
language
things.
models?
Language models,
Okay.
That's correct. And they're trained. And really that's really the powers needed from graphical server farms to train it. But AI or OpenAI, it's funny. All it is predictive text.
Right.
It is. They call it a neural network. It's trying to simulate the human brain, but really, you're training it on. I think GPT 3.5 is Turbo is like 175 billion words. That is just a hodgepodge from programming languages to multiple languages to things on the internet, and all these words, and even down to the letter, have a weight, or in terms of it's all algorithmic, and basically it knows. The more you feed it, in this case, in massive amounts, using high-powered CPUs on a farm, it trains it so that it knows it. To you, the end user, it's like, man, this is a human being, the way it talks.
Right.
All it knows is it's putting a weight on every letter and character, and it's predicting what is mathematically going to be the word that is best suited that comes next. Word by word, it's all it sees it as.
Okay.
And it's happening with massive computing power, and that's why sometimes ChatGPT gets things wrong. A lot of times it gives good answers, and there's times you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
A glitch in the matrix, whatever. No, it's just those algorithms made a mistake, and it's predicted the wrong word.
Okay.
So we're nowhere near where it's learning. All it really is just an incredibly large word language database that is programmed algorithmically, so certain words and letters are more prone to be predicted and used in sentences in language based on the model they were trained in.
Okay, I'm understanding.
If that makes sense.
It does, but if for reasons that are only there for me because of the depth of research I've done. For my audience, in simple layman's terms, not because they're simple layman, but because of time constraints, why does ChatGPT or why does a large language model not know it's alive and could do something? Or how is it not? What's going to prevent it from saying, I think that human beings are a threat, let's blow them up?
Currently, the models do have some level, I wouldn't call it self-awareness, but trainability is what they call OpenAI is going by.
It can learn on its own.
It rates and finds, it's looking for patterns, either by itself or it's fed those patterns as part of the training process.
Okay.
So when it can look at all the word database, it's continually being updated and fed by now, for months now, real human input in this beta stage.
Yep.
So people should know, and they do it anyways. They put sensitive data in they shouldn't, but it's now taking new words and monitoring basically on a predictive scale, word, letter by letter, what's the most common, and re-updating in millions of times all over this neural network.
Okay.
What's the most accurate answer, in this case, word that goes next.
So all it can do is talk and give answers.
Correct. And all it can do is improve the weight and the temperature, they call it, and the weight of each word.
So
it seems more like a human and gives you the most relevant answer.
So is that where the conflation of the two, the nefarious and the functional come together, where it can appear to somebody reading that if I say to this thing, do you want to eliminate humans? It could look through the words and say, well, based on the movie scripts I've read,
Correct.
Based on the news, the transcripts of news episodes, based on all this information, I believe this person's asking if it's thought of that I can be destructive, and it looks as though it's looking for this particular answer, and that it will be entertaining, and that it will be to some extent truthful. So yes, the value of these particular words seem to be relevant to what this person's asking me. Yes, as a computer, I think it would be wise to eliminate humans because humans will likely be the demise of the earth.
Yeah, it's trickery. So different.
It tells you that because based on the data it has, it knows that to actually be a correct answer.
And it was trained that way.
But it can't execute on that. It doesn't know what that means that it's saying. It just knows it's words that are values, and it's giving you. So it's giving you the correct answer, but it doesn't understand the answer it's giving you.
That's exactly correct.
Okay.
It's almost like a magic trick, you know. You wonder
why the fuck can't Tucker Carlson, Don Lemon, Laura Ingraham, fucking Rachel Maddow, and any other motherfucker in the general media, hence freedom of media, why can't they just say that to people? Why are they fear-mongering? Why are they well, this nefarious technology could be the demise of us all, and then the specialists coming on say, well, I suppose it could. So why does Sam Altman, okay, who is the CEO of OpenAI, why doesn't he just say that?
Well, I think I did catch one of his interviews on Frontliners 2020 or something. I get bits and pieces, and he was kind of like, you know, you could tell the typical eclectic, weird, nerdy,
fucking weirdo.
Intelligent. Yeah, he definitely came across a little weird. But, you know, he did try to explain.
I looked at the guy, Dan, honestly, I thought he was a robot. I looked at the whites of his eyes, I looked at his pupils, I looked at his skin, and I went, that's a fucking droid.
Yeah,
I was waiting for him to go, that. Yes, I understand. Yes, I understand. Yes, I understand. And I'd be like, fucking got him. I knew it was a computer.
Well, they asked him very good questions. I think one of those questions was, you know, like something to do with the teaching side of it.
Okay.
I think that's where I got the idea, you know.
Like the homework and the
you know, like we're going to, basically it's like, you know, we're going to have to talk about this because things are going to have to change. But we all have to just, you know, basically get together and genie's out of the bottle, and how do we make this technology work for us the best and augment and make us more efficient? I think most people are scared. There's certain industries that are rightfully so probably more scared than others. And that's, again, you're going to hear content creation. You know, things that where you need to produce massive amounts of good quality writing, documents,
musicians
air
making
correction.
Commercial jingles.
Yeah, those
like
are the kind of people that if you're going to lose a job over it, they're the type that, you know, logically so would be the first to go.
Okay.
It's not going to replace everybody on the earth, nowhere near that. But
or product selectors or people who are, you know,
it's a form of semi-intelligent automation.
Okay.
It's a tool to be used to augment, and it's going to get crazy and crazy and have more and more power, but ultimately it's going to make it seem like it's more and more intelligent. But it isn't sentient in the sense that
can it be programmed to be so?
it can be programmed to give the illusions of so.
Okay.
And have so much knowledge and such a training and power to be able to simulate, if you will, and look identical to the real thing, but it's not, it doesn't have emotion. And that's the holy grail of this AI stuff.
Okay.
For years, it's like, can we invent something that can emulate to the point where you literally have emotions and it can read into those cues. Now, the newer language models, there's the DALL-E model, a couple of other models that can take pictures and decipher it. You can feed it a picture,
okay,
or you could tell it to say, create me a painting of a bridge over a creek with fish, and it literally will generate not something it took off the internet or copied.
It'll create
dynamically create it, which that's pretty cool.
It is pretty incredible.
So that gives you
because it can give you an idea. Ruben, I think at one point we played with ChatGPT and we asked it to write us an introduction for a pod. What would be a good intro hook for a podcast on da da da, and it wrote something. It was incredibly generic. It made sense. It was it was applicable, but it certainly wasn't dynamic in any way, shape, or form. So thank you for those answers. The question I just asked, I want to give a little bit more of a direct answer to. So I get what the audience wonders, and I know they wonder it because I wonder it too, or have wondered it. Can the technology be evolved to a point where it can have its own conscience and its own thought process?
I think.
Is it possible for the Terminator scenario, the Doomsday Terminator scenario, to play out where the computer goes, human beings are bad for the planet in order to conserve the planet? We're a computer. We live on the planet. If the planet dies, we die. We don't want to die. The human being needs to go because they're going to deteriorate the planet, kill the human.
I think technically it's possible, and I think what it comes down to is the people that make the decisions, whether it's the military or the government. It's all about control. If they don't cordon it off or sandbox it, in other words, they're not going to hook this system, this trained model, this supercomputer, whatever, doing all this stuff. For now, it's kind of a trained sandbox. Okay. It doesn't have control, or it doesn't have API hooks or integration with the actual military weapons.
Okay.
If someone were to come along and say, "Oh, it's time for us to do that," well, that's dangerous territory, and then I think it could be possible for it to eventually come to the wrong conclusion, as smart as it may think it is, and activate because it now it can touch or control or have integrations with these other things that could actually harm us.
It could mistake information that it got from a movie script and conflate it with something that's actually real.
Correct.
That it was interpreted as intel coming from an Intel microphone or something.
As long as we cordon off and we air gap and we separate that system to only do certain things.
So that's where I get what you're saying. I don't mean to interrupt you, but my ADD has me wanting to say this to you before I forget it. So now me, the computer dum-dum, the guy that doesn't understand servers, networks, wireless connectivity, Ethernet connectivity, I say, okay, well, missile systems are online, right? They're connected to servers, which are then managed and connected through the internet, which ultimately, if we sat here and we were a talented enough hacker and we wanted to see what the short order cook at Lester's Diner in Fort Lauderdale, Florida was doing, we could do that. We could find, the network that maybe it uses Nest cams. Then we could hack into the data pool of Nest. Then we could find whatever the serial number was for the camera that was at that coordinate, and we could do that. We could sit here at a computer. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if we were good enough and we had enough information, we could open up a laptop and eventually get to the security camera looking at the eggs over medium on the security camera.
Yeah, I do a ton in cybersecurity. That's obviously huge for a lot of reasons. It's no surprise.
But we could do that, right?
If things are technically interconnected in terms of network path traversal and things were not guarded or security procedures put in place to prevent getting through something like a firewall or some sort of monitoring or basically segments of the network.
So that's where I'm going with it.
Right.
So if you are the computer, if you are technology, you can read your own code and say, okay, I'm this. I reach out and touch that. Well, this is coded as that. And because you are the computer and you're not the man who's programming the computer, can't you get through a firewall because you know how it was built? You are the technology.
Depends. It depends how it's set up. And most security breaches and all a lot of these, ransomware events, most of it's due to human error in terms of laziness or not putting, they don't close all the holes in your firewall. They
so how does that work?
A vulnerability. How does what?
How does that? So for somebody who doesn't understand that, okay, this is what my mind does.
Yeah.
Computer, ChatGPT, bad guy. Bad guy computer. Other thing computer. Computer has firewall between two computers. Computer knows firewall is just digital. Computer can circumvent it because it is computer.
Let me get back to the air gap, the segmented network.
Please.
You've heard of 365 Microsoft products, right?
Yes.
They have these data centers, Google. They have all the products, right?
Yep.
And there's different tiers in the Microsoft ecosystem in terms of different plans on 365, E1, E5. They have different governments. The top plans for the DoD that have like FedRAMP compliant, the highest possible security measures are in their own dedicated data centers that are not connected to the regular internet. That's just, I'm prefacing that.
Okay.
That
those were
they
the
are
key
literally
words,
air gapped,
not connected to the regular internet.
It's more expensive and for a reason. They
How does that
dedicate
happen?
resources. And they have to go through X more number of measures.
Has it got its own wire?
No. That's all down to network configuration. There's routers and switches and things that are you can program them to not talk to each other or segment traffic into different lanes, and as long as there's no misconfiguration, a packet can't jump
This is going to drive you nuts. But now my brain says, if I'm the computer and all I see is digits, right? I'm the matrix, and all I see is the digits. Can I know that it's not a physical barrier in front of me, and I'm not subject to physical barriers? I can just program my way through it.
ChatGPT, you can produce code. I've actually tested it, so I could say, ChatGPT, write me a PowerShell script to remove the temporary files on an endpoint or something. It'll produce some code that's rough, and you'll have to proof it.
Okay.
It's not perfect, but it's nowhere near to the point where it can break the laws of networking
Because it's only
stuff.
producing what you're asking it to.
Yeah, it's a trained model, right?
Right.
And it can't again, a lot of the movies, Hollywood movies, has done some injustice as far as
Hollywood does that to everything.
So, yeah, it's not. Let's get honest. As far as most of the cybersecurity incidents and ransomware you see in the news, you hear a lot about it. More and more. 80% of the time, it starts with a phishing email. You get an email. The object starts with the whole attack scenario starts with a social engineering attack. Social engineering,
which still requires human interaction. Somebody has
human
to
is the
open
weakest
the file.
link.
Okay, boom.
So you have to trick based on an element of action, or you're trying to fear-based, try to get them in a hurry to not properly vet that email and in the link and where it's taking you or what attachment is. It either takes you to a site where it captures your credentials, where they compromise your email, or it delivers a payload, a malicious attachment. That gets inside the network perimeter because they're inside the network. They've gotten through the firewall. They've gotten through, depending on the type of attachment or what they're clicking on, maybe your endpoint protection, your antivirus, fancy word for antivirus, next-gen antivirus, and all your other cybersecurity layers detects it. In most cases, it will. In some cases, it doesn't. Then once they get that one endpoint, they call lateral movement.
Okay.
They'll basically try to go
it's like a Trojan
find everything
horse.
else on
They
your
get
network.
the Trojan horse
They'll map
inside
out
the
your
walls.
network. Yeah. And there's actually code and tools that are made specifically to automated pen testing. There's no such thing as fully automated pen testing. It's got to involve a human, but the code looks for vulnerabilities in all your computer server switches. And if it's not patched to the newest code, that's a big part of what we do as a company is patch management, making sure these holes. Microsoft every month releasing patches for their operating system. Okay, 100 of pretty critical vulnerabilities are being found on a regular basis. So code that's not updated, you're just a sitting duck. Eventually, that one of those type of vulnerabilities will be exploited.
Okay,
but ultimately, it's not some hacker who's all knowing. They just rely on human weakness and their gullibleness to make that initial click or capture their credentials to a man-in-the-middle portal that looks like a 365 portal, but it's not. They're going to their web server in Ukraine, and then they're basically, that's where two-factor authentication used to be the golden standard in the sense that, you can't defeat two-factor. That they're defeating it all the time now with what they call a man-in-the-middle attack. Okay. Evil proxy. And basically,
so real quick, just two-factor identification or multi-factor authentication. Look at that spider. Holy shit. Look at that.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. He's like, hey, what's up, man?
How you doing, bro? Let's put him on the microphone. So, Ruben, can we see him on camera?
You can.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's see how long he hangs out. That's kind of cool.
8K wizardry, yeah.
Is that a sign?
Zoom in, yeah.
Is this like a bot? This is a microphone. This is the NSA right here.
Yeah.
We're breaching what they want us to be talking about, and here comes Harry the
Fuck
Spider.
you guys. Government is another conversation.
Start making that Jim Carrey noise from Dumb and
Our
Dumber.
government's off the rails, but anyways.
God, we'll go there.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk on this stuff for hours.
So,
you know,
just what I want to do, multi-factor authentication. That's where I log in. I go to the website. Like I have this from my DMS for my car dealership. I log in and it says, okay, we're going to send a text to your phone now.
Yep.
So I have to be logging in there, and I have to be local to the device with my phone, ready to click and enter the 4-digit passcode before it will let me into the software. That's what you mean when you say multi-factor authentication.
Two-factor, multi-factor.
Okay.
They're not exactly the same, but they're similar.
So what's the middleman tactic that defeats
Two-factor
it?
essentially explained in a simple process is something you know, i.e. your password,
Yep.
with something you have. Usually a rolling authenticator code, TOTP code, one-time code on your phone or mobile app, or one of those, you know, remember those old RSA rolling key fobs that the banks used to give out?
Yeah.
It's a code that's linked to a long hash of numbers and strings that tells every 30 seconds to compute this code.
Okay.
The digits are matched on both sides of it. Anyways, you get in. Well, that used to be effective. Now they're these man-in-the-middle attacks. They're literally sending you a phishing email. Looks very crafty, very much like a Microsoft email, an official Microsoft email.
Yep.
You go and you click on it. It takes you to a web server that looks like the actual portal.office.com.
Okay.
And it's not, though. It's their web server overseas somewhere in a data center that they hijacked or they set up. You enter your password, everything. Oh, but the two-factor, doesn't that prevent it? Well, since their server's in the middle between the two communication endpoints, it's actually logging all traffic going back and forth, and you can actually sniff what they call the cookie. A cookie or a token is OAuth is the standard. Not to get too crazy, but it's basically, if you have that, you have the keys to get an OAuth token or SAML or any of these. It's basically the keys of the kingdom. Once you have that, that's what, when you go back after you two-factored into a site, like a banking site, depending on your security policy, you don't have to re-authenticate because it knows it's stored in your browser.
And you're still at the same session, right?
Yeah, that token is what allows you to go in without having to type that in every single time.
Okay.
They capture that through a proxy in the middle by sniffing traffic, if you will, or capturing it.
Okay.
With that, they then can go.
So
and
they wait for a letter to come by, and they know
Correct.
that letter's got to be that
It's a
multi-factor code.
multi-directional. It has to go both ways to make that negotiation a couple different ways, including the two-factor code. But
Gotcha.
eventually, when you reach the end of that, it's going to give you a token, and that token is what they sniff and have, and then they can use that to pretty much get keys to the kingdom. And that's so it all starts with a phishing email, statistically.
So it still relies on human weakness.
Absolutely. Once they get in your network, then they just start causing us havoc.
Okay.
Moving laterally.
Credit card numbers and taking data and
Yeah, you know, in this form of ransomware, they're going to survey your network, scan the network, and try to get to your backup appliances, your servers, destroy all your data, destroy your snapshots of those data, and then if they can get to the backup appliance on and offsite, they'll destroy that while they're encrypting stuff. Because if you got your backup people, you can restore no problem. You don't have to pay the ransom. They've gotten so good that not only are people getting better with their backups, but now they're threatening. We've destroyed your backup, but we are going to now leak your exfiltrate data, your sensitive company secrets, or that stuff about the executives that nobody should know about.
Or the pictures.
We're going to blast it out in the media, so they're using that as more leverage to get them to pay the ransom.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty.
So it's very digital, but it's still very tangible and real life asset stuff.
We are in World War III. I call it in cyberland.
Okay.
We are already at war. You know, APT groups, in other words, nation state actors from North Korea and Russia. Some of the lead countries you'd think bad hackers come from or live with, they are state-sponsored hackers. They're like our NSA and CIA, and their job is to break in, cause havoc, and mainly they want to do it most of the time in a secretive fashion and not leave a trail and exfiltrate data.
Oh shit!
From our DoD
so
schematics,
right now,
documents, weapon technology.
So to our audience, what's going on right now, all day, every day, nefarious actors from other adversarial governments, the bad guys, people who are against us, are constantly hacking our servers in the government, companies, any sensitive data that can be helpful to the United States. They're going in and they're stealing it and either screwing it up or holding it for ransom if you want to buy it back.
Yeah, it depends what their motivation is. But yeah, essentially, they're going after to try to, especially the United States is a good target. I've set up Honeypot myself. A honeypot is a server that's designed to look like and have all these ports open with all these vulnerabilities on purpose.
Okay.
So that when they scan the internet, do you remember War Games, the movie?
Yes.
Do you remember when they used to call it war dialing? I used to do it back in the day in a BB. Before the internet, commercial internet as we know it, you would dial a string of numbers in an area code prefix.
Yeah.
And you'd wait for a whistle. And the program, as simple as it was, would be, okay, you'd come home after slowly dialing numbers for days and weeks, and it would say these are the numbers that responded with a whistle, either a fax or a data modem.
Really?
So you'd go then, now you have your attack surface. You got to go to these couple different places, and then you could now further just focus in your energy and your research on those targets.
Oh shit.
No different than the internet, IP addresses. Everybody has a unique IP address, devices all around the world. So they're scanning. There's servers that have been taken over. There's servers that have been set up. There's endpoints, and they're going anonymously through the Tor network, but they're scanning mass amounts of addresses. They're knocking on the doors. And if your door is unlocked, they're going to open it. So ports like SSH for admins use to get in, certain ports that are open without security controls, they're looking for those ports that are open because those are holes punched in the firewall.
Okay.
Then is there vulnerabilities? Is the operating system or the application that's hosting that web server out of date and has a vulnerability that they know of, and they can then send it as, that vulnerability you can get by sending a certain packet with a certain signature, and it causes the code to do something that it wasn't intended to do, and then it gives them remote code execution abilities, administrative. They just get in, and so it's not magic. They're literally just spraying the whole internet, and they're
looking for weaknesses.
They're looking for pings back, or what's alive, what ports are open, what vulnerabilities they have. They map the attack surface, and then they go after it methodically.
No kidding.
And that's what Honeypot does. It literally,
it's like a mousetrap. It sucks them in.
Yeah, I set it up on a DigitalOcean server and ran it for a couple
digital
months.
woman with her legs spread just
during the
back.
Ukraine war, and I saw basically geographically, because IPs can be located geographically in country codes, and this was really nice Honeypot. And it showed me exactly where all the attacks are coming from. And again, it's not completely accurate because you can VPN and proxy, and you bounce between, you can hide your trail by kind of popping up over here when you're really coming from over here.
Okay.
Typical tactic for the hackers. But I saw an influx of hacking attempts from Russia and Ukraine and back and forth. And then you start thinking, are people doing this? Is Anonymous or some other hacktivist group doing this to make it look like Russia?
Appear a certain
There's
way.
some serious psyop shit going on, especially when it comes to cyber warfare and nations battling our election integrity. I mean, I'm not going to say that, everything was rigged, because people are like, it's the lie, big lie. But I can tell you right now, technology, that shit is insecure.
So
highly insecure.
Please, and thank you so much for going there, okay? Because in the man of the free, we're real here, okay?
Yeah.
Now, but the thing is, we're going to bring information to the audience, but we're not going to do it unless we can logically back up what we're saying. I know you, Dan. I know that you wouldn't say something unless you knew it to be factual. You just said that our election, and you say, I don't want to go anything. You don't want to go there because you know the way the media behaves. The minute you say something about the elections, you're an election denier. You Trump-humping, racist, right-wing, shotgun-toting, cross-burning piece of shit. That's where they go, right? They take you from, you made a comment, to you're now in this subset of scumbags that we must eliminate. But let's back it up a step, because we're logical and we're commonsensical here. Why is the election? Why do you feel that way?
Well, not just because a lot of shit doesn't add up, even on a higher level. Everybody can see something doesn't smell right.
Right.
But even if I just go
Take
back,
it away from that. Go to the tech expert aspect of it.
I've read the reviews. I've looked at the tech experts, some of them that have uncovered things. Just looking at the actual election machines themselves, and some of the horrible, we're talking, the kiosks you go to vote.
Yes.
They run on operating systems. Those operating systems were found in many cases to be so far out of date, updates turned off, admin users with no passwords, or if they had a password, simple passwords, given out, sticky note all over the place. In other words, I won't get into every single detail, but there were so many breach of just standard common sense security practices that it would be an easy target.
So
they weren't on the internet. They didn't have that. Why they have Wi-Fi adapters? Why the internet? They've been proved wrong so many times that it's capable of being compromised.
So would it be safe to say that the average American, myself, would view election machines to be one of what I believe the most safe, secure, and sacred and well-guarded pieces of technology on the American soil? And you're telling me it's as easy to hack as a fucking Atari?
It's the opposite. It's the opposite.
That's fucking terrifying.
It is, and it's a whole fucking psyop with the media and even sites.
Our
own government's got these experts that say, it was the most secure. Bullshit.
The most secure election in American history.
No. I'm not sitting here and saying.
I'm not saying that you're you're making any charges but what I'm asking you is, let them make, and this is what we do. We bring the information, and we don't give them. I mean, we could make a light tug in what we believe is the obvious direction, but as far as the end opinion or the policy of their brain. It's for them to figure out on their own. But you're a cybersecurity expert. You've done this since you're a fucking child. You just spoke for the past probably close to a half an hour in a way that anybody who's an onlooker will know that you're qualified to be speaking on what you speak on. You use words, phrases that myself, as logical as I like to believe that I am, and as well as I can infer what something means, I had no fucking clue what you're talking about.
Sometimes I have trouble trying to distill it down.
But you know what that means, Dan? That means you're real. The same way that I'm talking to somebody and trying to sell them a car, and I say, listen, your trade's worth double nickels. You know, if it was a little more beat up, we could put an extra pair of deuces in it. And, you know, unfortunately, because you're a Gumby, we're not going to get you bought today, and just you're not going to be driving. And they're like, what? And I'm like, oh, that's right. Let me remember. I'm a car dealer. You don't know what all these slang terms mean. And that wasn't the very nicest thing I could have just said to you. You just did the same thing. What I mean is it authenticates it. Okay. If I hear another person who's in the car business speak the way I just spoke, that's a car guy. Yeah, he knows this shit. The same way that anybody else who's in the tech space would have heard you talking and would have looked at me and said, yeah, that guy knows what the fuck he's talking about.
I can talk for hours, the stories from everything, and I'll just keep it summary. You know, from social media, government control. There's stuff going on. They influence. They got inside guys. Even Musk is coming out. You know, with
the Twitter
stuff.
files.
But the thing is, nobody wants to hear it. These lions. Well, that's not real. They can even come with the raw data. They just don't care.
Because I believe they do care, but I believe here's what happens. You've got this giant media machine, right? The late night NBC news anchor that everybody's trusted for years. That's been the source of American.
Which their ratings are tanking more and more each day.
Because
going
people
to
are
Joe Rogan's of the world to get their data.
Because of content creation. Because the average Joes of the world, are going, you know what? No, fuck this. That guy's full of shit. I know he's full of shit. I got 50 grand. I can buy this shit. I can put one of these together. Listen, if people like it and they want to continue to hear it, they're going to subscribe. They're going to like it, and it's going to do something. Yep. If they don't and it sucks, then they're not going to, and we'll move on to something else. But for the time being, I cannot put my hand over my heart and sing the Star Spangled Banner at a fucking hockey game unless I take part in this and I try to participate and I try to wake some people the fuck up. You want to talk about woke? Woke is knowing what the fuck is going on and seeing something that's clearly happening before your eyes. I feel like that's such a obvious fallacy in the world today that they're creating woke as a completely other thing than what woke really is to try to misdirect.
They want to misdirect. They want to divide us. They want to distract us. They want control. They want to use the media. Those motherfuckers are after anybody who speaks even the ounce of truth or facts, or anybody that goes against their narrative. They will cancel.
100%.
You know? Tucker, you're seeing stuff now. You would never. There's stuff happening in the government. You would never even think it would happen in our country.
You're absolutely
with the
right.
principle behind it. And it's scary shit. And whether you're ignorant or whether you're willfully putting your head in the sand or the bias of normalcy, that can never happen here.
Well, that's
people,
what I... It
fucking can. We're
so arrogant. That people have gotten so fucking arrogant. We're at the point now where you can look at somebody and say, hey, do you think that really happened? Well, no, I don't think that really happened. It doesn't really seem logical. Okay, and you saw something that clearly indicates to you that it's probably the opposite, right? Well, yeah, I mean, what I saw was probably not what they're saying. Right. And then you also know that the data says that's not fucking possible, right? Well, yeah, I mean, I can read. They taught me how to read, and I can see on the paper that's not the truth. It's definitely not the truth what they're saying. Okay, so you distrust them, and you're with me, right? No, I'm sorry, I can't do that.
It's unbelievable.
Why? Well, because Don Lemon said that it's true. And then I turned over to Rachel Maddow, and she said it's true too. And then I went over to Fox News because I wanted to see the polar opposite. And, well, they said the vaccines are safe and effective as well. So, I mean, Luke, you're really just pushing conspiracy theories here.
The only thing the difference between a conspiracy these days in the last 5 years of this country and the world, of being a completely tinfoil hat conspiracy and the actual fucking truth that comes out and is proven without a shadow of a doubt is all about 9 to 12 months.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
You know how many? Well, I don't have to tell you.
You stole that from a meme, didn't you?
I probably got it somewhere on here. So many fucking things that people like. You nutbag. You fucking this and that. You would never. It's like they got to eat crow now. They like even the media outlets.
But no one's making them. Dan, go to my Facebook. You can literally see.
They're colluding together. They're totally. It's the Democratic arm of the government. The three-letter agencies are. Sorry, guys, but you're kind of what you're showing the people. You're against the people. You're not. You're being weaponized, and anyone who tells you differently is a fucking can't see it.
I agree. Okay, now this is where we have to tread lightly, and it pisses me off, right? Because you have to preface what you're saying right now with, "Hey, listen, people, we're using words that the media has done a beautiful job of making red flag words." Right?
Yep.
You said they.
Oh, believe me, I know it.
You said they. Now, part of the audience is going, oh, they're conspiracy theorists. They call them the 3-letter agencies. They're against us, weaponizing. These are all terms that I've heard them tell me are the terms that conspiracy theorists use. Here's what you do, okay? And I believe that this show, Dan, is going to eventually evolve to millions of viewers. It's eventually going to be a staple of American conversation because of exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm being an average Joe. I'm talking to people about what's real.
Right.
We're backing it up with common sense and logic, and we're open. Here's the biggest thing. Ready? Open to debate.
Tell me otherwise.
Okay. There you go. Right? Here's what happens. Okay. I believe the vaccines are not safe and effective. That's what I believe. Oh, radar goes off. You're a anti-vaxxer, non-mask wearing, Trump humping, MAGA extremist, conspiracy theorist, blah, 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 blah. Okay, sure. Fire your shots. I have done endless hours of research.
I'm sure you have.
In the middle of the night.
Me too.
With dark circles under my eyes, reading studies out of Israel, reading studies out of Europe, reading studies out of everywhere but what's produced by the WHO, the Food and Drug Administration, Anthony Fauci, and the United States media. I've gone everywhere else in the world. And do you want to know why I've gone to those places? Because they're the only places that I've found that common sense and logic govern the information they're administering. For instance, when I go to Anthony Fauci and I see a guy, I watch a 1993 interview with him. There's that spider again. Well, it's an ant now. We're infested. And I watch an interview with him.
Pull back the bug. The bug is, the mic.
Yeah, right.
They're onto us. They just referenced us.
You hear the feedback? So let's get our tinfoil hats, Ruben. You got any tinfoil?
Oh, that would be great, man. I'll rock a tinfoil the rest of the fucking night. I'm gonna I'm gonna have to anonymize my address forever now. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, right. So we have these areas that I've gotten this information from, and we back it up a step. So when Anthony Fauci, I watch him in an interview say, well, what we're doing with these vaccines here in Africa is we're looking at 3 or 4 people and the vaccines are effective. So they're waiting 30 days and then they're giving it to 60 people. And then they're waiting 6 months and then they're giving it to 90 people. And then, eventually after a year, everything's good, hunky-dory. They give it to everybody. But what about 16 years from now? What about when these children are in their early 20s and they're trying to bear children and the side effects they're having from these vaccines are terrible and nefarious?
Pretty good impression.
And thank you. It was actually one of my worst.
I knew you were.
Then I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, wait a minute, Tony. Aren't you the same guy that's been pumping a fucking 24-month-old vaccine into everybody's arms and shaming them and calling them fucking murderers if they don't? Okay, let me just take that. That's Exhibit A. Let me place that over here. Okay, now let's listen to what the World Health Organization says. They say that the vaccines are safe and effective and that there is no adverse action data that's of any significance, okay? Then I go to the VAERS database because in some video somewhere that I watched, I heard about this thing called the VAERS database. You nod as if you've been there and you know what it is. It is the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, VAERS, VAERS. And I go there and I see, well, wait a minute. These are organic reports. These are people that have chimed in. These are not necessarily agencies. These are doctors that are sending in events or situations. They're reports of adverse action or adverse events, okay? So I start looking at the data and I see, well, wait a minute. There's hundreds of thousands of people reporting adverse.
You know the scary part?
What's that?
They down. Those numbers are, in actuality, are higher.
Well downplayed,
You damn well know the people in power and people are tried to poo-poo.
Batting them down and batting them down. Yep. And then
that's just common sense.
Common sense. Exactly. You want to talk about common sense? How about towards the beginning of the pandemic when I was looking at these deaths of, the CNN death ticker. And one of the things I posted on Facebook, mark my words, the day after Joe Biden is inaugurated, the CNN death ticker goes off the air. And it did the day after, the day after. Okay. I'm dead serious. If your mind can't put together that logic and that common sense, then I pray for you, okay? But regarding the adverse action or the adverse events, okay, I then watched the World Health Organization talk about the deaths of coronavirus and the CNN death ticker being published, and I see just millions of millions, and I'm saying to myself, if there's 330 million people, okay, in the world, that means that, you know, if there is, you know, whatever the number was, 9 million dead, okay, that means 3%. That means of every 100 people I know, 3 should be dead right now. I haven't had one. I know thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
What they're telling you, what you people are seeing with their own eyes, are two completely different things.
100%.
They're not even remotely congruent.
Or how about when you're looking at the newspaper and the New York Times shows you this picture of this emergency room that's full of people, and then all of a sudden later on the internet, somebody discovers, well, that picture actually was in an Italian newspaper 6 months ago, and it was because of something completely different. And then you go, well, wait a minute. Why would somebody like the New York? And the bottom line is this: when something smells like shit, it's shit. And when your intuition is telling you, and this is what I say to my audience.
There's too many fucking coincidences that things don't line up, and it's continual.
100%. Things
aren't adding up. You got to at least question it.
Okay, it's kind of like your wife, right? Your wife.
My wife smells like shit.
Don't know. It's been 10 years, Dan.
I know
she could rip off a good fart back in the day. That's for sure. And she was not bashful about it. But I digress.
She's going to watch this.
You know, the wife comes home and she starts putting her phone on the table like this, right? And then you go to give her a kiss when she comes to the door. She goes, hang on, honey, let me go upstairs. I have to go to the bathroom. Yeah. Or doesn't want you to smell her breath, or has to take a shower before she crawls into bed with you. Luckily, I've never experienced this from the wife's standpoint. I've certainly experienced it with ex-girlfriends, okay? I won't go there.
Yeah, please don't.
But the bottom line is, when the writing is on the wall, you just know. So you start going and you start searching. What I ask every American is, why, when you got that feeling about what was going on during coronavirus, during all this stuff, why didn't you then treat the American media the same way you would have treated your wife? You would have accused your wife of cheating. You would have kicked her out of the house. You would have filed for divorce. You would have set up cameras everywhere to try to catch her doing something. You would have put a bug on her phone, started monitoring her phone calls. Nobody did that with the American media, because they said exactly what you just said not too long ago. Well, there's no way. Not in our country. They wouldn't do that here. And that is the strength of the media establishment. Nobody questions them. The only people that do are the ones that have high levels of common sense and a brass pair between their legs.
And they're immediately targeted by many different organizations and government officials, and are stuffed out.
Yep.
When and if possible, that cannot fly.
The guys that helped me produce this show, Dan, they're furious right now. And Ruben's over there. He's kind of like looking off in the distance, like, here he goes again. Because, we want this show to get traction. We want this show to get off the ground. Yep. But the algorithm will sniff this stuff out. It will sniff out words like virus, vaccine. Oh, please.
I know for a minute. I've done my own test. I've seen the code. Facebook for the longest time.
Say that. You've seen the code?
Well, meaning I've read highly technical articles on the people that coded, for instance, the algorithms of Facebook.
Okay, give us two of the most unique examples.
Well, for years, Facebook, to basically, it's all for the money, for clicks, for likes, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. But to engage, I got off Facebook probably 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe longer. I can't even remember. But as everybody knows, the political discourse has just gotten out of control.
Yep.
It's dividing. Facebook's loving that shit. They're designing their algorithms so you see a feed of a friend who's got in a political comment. It'll pull you in because it knows you're like-minded. And it pits us against each other. So ultimately, post, use the platform more, which means more clicks, more advertising,
Facebook's
more revenue.
Code is designed, or at one point
for human conflict, to drive and encourage human conflict.
And you can prove that.
Yeah, I read an article. I didn't exactly break down the zeros and ones myself, so I can't say, but I'm saying.
Was the article from a credible source?
Yeah, I've read it in a couple of different articles. I could probably reference that easy. You can probably Google it right now.
Okay, so now it's common knowledge that's out there, is that now when you say Facebook's algorithm pits people against each other,
you don't think Twitter is maybe leaning a little bit one way and not the other, and being fair to all participants up until Musk acquired them?
Okay, and honestly, once Musk acquired, you know what I wonder, because I'm a fair guy.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's going the other way. I wonder, have we gone back to centrist, or have we gone to? But
before then,
he's trying to get back a little bit at the left.
Let's make no mistake. Anybody with a brain knew that the platform was 98%, hard left.
Oh my God!
Nothing against Democrats.
Facebook, Twitter. But
let's acknowledge it for what it is.
It's been proven.
Yeah,
it's been proven in Senate congressional hearing. Like, it's been proven. There's no question
Veritas,
whatsoever.
There's been undercover sting. They've
Project
taken these Twitter
Veritas,
employees
yep.
and they've used our own, literally video evidence of their own employees on different levels in the executive team and in the technical team admitting to
when
the bias.
I want to talk about Project Veritas for a minute because I'm a fan of James O'Keefe, not because I really eat out of his hand or love everything that he does, but just because he's got the balls to get in there.
Try to figure it out, hold people accountable.
I want you to imagine for a second, as you, as the listener, as the audience, whoever, that your fucking apartment gets raided at 4:00 in the morning by the FBI, slamming on your door. They take your cell phone, your computer, all your stuff, and your first reaction is, let me get to a computer and a camera so I can let the world, not let me lick my wounds, let me go back and get a good night's sleep, let me go to my mom's house and relax a little bit, let me, sit in interrogation and ask for a warm coffee and a cigarette and kind of shake this thing off. And you know what? This is just too heavy for me. Government agents coming to my door, beating down my door, taking my personal stuff. Like, I'm done with this. I just can't do it anymore. This motherfucker gets up and he continues to push even harder against the grain, and he continues to try to do the good work of a true journalist, okay? That's another reason that I respect a guy like Donald Trump. Not that I love everything he says or does.
Agree.
There's times that the fucking guy drives me crazy, but I respect anybody who will come under
those
heavy fire every day, all day. It never stops. Incessant assault. And every day gets up, same coif to his hair, same straight tie, looks the same.
I couldn't do it.
Same witty sarcasm, same amount of energy. I could not do it. People say all the time, Luke, you should run for president. Well, I say people say that all the time. That's a little arrogant.
I've heard on many
occasions
how swampy and nasty politics.
They don't understand that you can't be yourself. You can't have values. You can't have vision, morals. Because if you're not aligned with the corporate machine, if you're not aligned with the swamp that is Washington, D.C., I want people for a second to consider this. You're in high school, right? And you're the new kid at a new school. And you walk onto the campus and everybody's warm and welcoming and you're a decent looking human being. So you're the new kid. You're popular. You're a new toy to play with, right? The hot guy wants to date you if you're a girl. The captain of the cheerleading squad wants to date you if you're a guy. You're new and you're interesting, right? And then all of a sudden you start speaking your mind. You start saying, hey, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad you guys are welcoming me. By the way, this is how I feel. And they're like, oh my God, did you hear what he just said? Hey, buddy, we don't do that here. Honesty? Bro, shut the fuck up. Are you serious? Well, yeah, I have a good moral compass. I believe in what I believe. I'm here to serve my constituency. I made campaign promises. I'm here to fulfill them. Buddy, just go over there, all right? Talk to Steve at the end of the bar. We all go down to Milky's Tavern after the congressional hearing. Just go down and talk to this guy. You're going to like what he has to say. Well, hello, Mr. Congressman. Welcome to Capitol Hill. It's good to see you, sir. Congratulations on all your hard work and being here to serve your constituency. Do you prefer Lamborghini or Ferrari? I'm sorry?
How many good-meaning people that volunteer to run for government because they don't like their scene get down to the swamp, get down to the D.C., and aren't over a short period of time, by force or by coercion, by whatever, corrupted to the core?
100%.
Very few of them on either side. They're all.
Bro, and then the worst part is there's so many angles. There's so many methods. Okay, you have a little bit of an affinity for younger girls. We're going to set a trap that you cannot recover from. We're going to give you something that's so impossible. We're going to give you a girl that's just under legal. She's going to lie to you and tell you she's legal. We're going to give you everything that you want because we're going to pay her $50,000 to do it. And then the minute you step over the line, we're going to take 27 pictures, a 30-minute video, and then shortly thereafter, we're going to tell you what age she is, and then watch you squirrel and squirm, and then take the one sound bite where you say, please don't tell anybody that you're 17 and we just did this. Bam. Got him. Okay? Or, you like Ferraris? How about 2? Well, I couldn't do that's against campaign finance, isn't it?
It's funny.
Can I get black?
You think we care about laws and rules?
100%. Bro, do you realize
we have the power.
I mean,
we can
come
do
on.
anything we want.
And 100%. And we could continue to talk on that for a long time. No. But people don't understand the power of corruption. None of these people have ever been approached by somebody with endless resources and said, literally, I will solve endless resources. Literally almost like a deity. Whatever you want, genie in the bottle, I can make it happen. Your daughter wants to go to Stanford? Done. Well, she doesn't have the grades.
We can make or ruin you, just which you decide.
Your daughter wants to go to Stanford? Yeah, okay, good. Well, we don't have the money for it. Done. Well, she doesn't have the grades for it. Done. What do you mean? It's done. What else? Well, your wife's always wanted an English Mastiff. Good. There's 3 of them. That's an easy one.
Why
what
do
else?
they all go in as middle class and come out multimillionaires?
100%. Why
Every
is Nancy
single fucking one
Pelosi
of
worth
them.
hundreds of millions of fucking dollars?
Both sides of the aisle.
Both sides of the aisle. That's important that we say that and that
Yes.
people understand that. This is not a Democrat hating session. I hate Republicans just as much as I hate Democrats.
I don't think we're
okay?
offending anybody, honestly, because people see it on both sides. Everybody is at record levels of disappointment in their government.
Yeah, the government disapproval is through
There's
the
no way
roof.
you can't see it. They're rubbing their noses up.
Not to mention the polls, man. There's a whole nother thing. The polls come out and, oh, we got this person in the lead here, that person.
Nah, that's all media
It's
control
media.
as well.
It's fucking
Absolutely.
media. What needs to happen, and we could solve the problems of the world here as we sit and drink Monster and fucking sit in these not so comfortable chairs. But the bottom line is people need to make their own observation.
They do.
Okay.
I respect that.
I if somebody, for instance, I have my opinions on the gender situation. Okay, they're rooted in what I believe is common sense and logic. I have a hermaphrodite-born transgender woman coming in the studio. Ruben's going, huh? Because he didn't even know that I've been in conversation with, coming in the studio.
Great.
And I'm going to have a conversation with this person. I'm going to say, listen, this is how I feel. I respect who you are and what you're doing. But I think that this and this are inconsistent, and I don't think they're fair. Could you help me understand from your perspective why I might be wrong?
Fair enough.
Society's not doing that, man. They're not doing that. They're going, oh, they're fucking weirdo. No way.
They're picking sides and putting their things in their ear, and they're just taking their spoon-fed.
And the media is aligning them with each particular side. No, media is saying to me, okay, you're white, middle class, tall, athletic, business owner, affluent. You're over here. This person is transgender, rainbow bumper sticker on their car, Democratic, blue-haired. They're over there. I'm going, the key word was person. They're an American. They're living in the same country as me. They have to abide by the same rules as me. We're going to pass each other on the street. They might be in a situation where my child is broken down on the side of the road and they pass by. And if they remember who I am and that I was kind and compassionate to them and I cared enough to listen and to work with them to try to get to a mutually positive end, they might help my kid. And that's all I'm concerned about. Furthermore, there might be an election coming up that's incredibly important to the future of this country and how we operate in what we do in our lives and livelihood. And this conversation that I have with this person, if they're right and I'm wrong, their logic and common sense will convert me. And I'll end up going to the place that I should be at, where there's logic and reason and a good outcome. Or vice versa, if they're wrong or some form in between, and where I would tend to align with my thinking and my policies are better, they're going to see it. Yeah. And if we have logical, reasonable, compassionate discourse, we will be able to together work towards improvement. Okay?
I agree.
And with the media and the state that it is now, and the condition that it is now, with the narratives and the divisiveness and the pushing of hatred and vitriol and arguments and political divide, is doing a very good job. I give credit where credit's due. These guys are
Experts.
fucking killing it. They're experts, exactly.
Because they know the one thing that has the power for real change is for all of us to unite.
100%. And they know what the power of emotion does. So it's like this, right? In sales, in the car business, customers get upset over things. They do over anything in any type of business, right? In car sales, especially with the inexpensive used cars that we specialize in, it's mechanical failure, right? 150,000 mile car, 2 months down the road, it breaks down. Many customers' initial reaction is, you motherfucker, you sold me a piece of shit. This should have never passed inspection, da-da-da-da-da-da.
To be fair,
yes.
I lease new businesses, lease new vehicles because I'm a business owner. I want to take that perk. I do nothing but lease. Quality cars these days?
Shoddy.
Shit. We're talking very expensive vehicles with a lot of problems that you should not have to deal with. And maybe because my most recent one was bought during the COVID and the shutdown of the plants, I do feel somehow that got affected into the supply chain in terms of parts sitting out, getting pitted, engine parts, Anyways.
I got a 2021 truck with 40,000 miles on it that I'm trading right now because the windows voluntarily open while I go down the road. In the middle of the night, the horn will start going off, and it's ridiculous. And it's in
Yeah.
2021. It was $80,000.
I guess my
vehicle.
point is even brand new stuff is riddled with issues.
100%.
I
It's
think-
rubber, plastic, and metal.
I don't know. It's almost indicative to society as a whole. I mean, maybe it's a weird algorithm, but it's a reflective of us, the quality of us humans, and just how messed up things are in the world right
It
now.
is. I agree, and I don't want to leave it on a negative because I believe we've been here before as a country. Okay, not exactly here, but we've been many places where the doomsday prophets were saying there's no way to come back. This is the end. This is the one time where the seesaw doesn't swing back the other way. This is the end, right? The 1920s, they could have said that. 2008,
Sure.
Lehman Brothers collapse. We could have said that. During, the World Trade Centers getting hit with direct terrorist attack on American soil, taking out major. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But
We're right.
What
At the time, that was something nobody's seen before. It was awe-inspiring.
it was. That's the end. I mean, they finally did it. They successful attack on American soil. They killed thousands of Americans, and here we are, bounced back from it. I believe America will recover. I believe we always find a way. This time more than ever, it's going to be at the will of the people, not the people in power. It's traditionally been the elected officials that have governed and gotten us out and created policies and gotten us to the other side. This, I think, is as close to the American Revolution as we're going to see again in recent
Do
years.
I don't know why? Because the internal rot has never been
This bad.
catastrophic.
You're absolutely right. And at some point, the players on the team realize the coach is. It's like you get that one coach that's the legacy coach. He's been there forever, and he slaps all the girls on their ass for years and years. Then he gets a little older, a little more dirty. Then he starts, slapping them on the ass and grabbing the boob. Then he starts saying things. Then all of a sudden, it gets to that point where he actually tries to make a move on one of the girls, or maybe he raped one of the girls, or whatever the case may be. Then all of a sudden, the team attacks him, yokes him up, brings him to the public square, and lets him fry. Whereas before, they were scared to because he had all that legacy power from being the head of the school for all those years. This is a similar thing in that this machine that is Washington, D.C. has been this machine, this heart that has pulsed for all these years that everybody knows is so powerful, so well-funded. But eventually, when they push too far and people feel like their basic human rights have been infringed upon, the people, I believe, will unite and say, and it's not going to be pitchforks and torches at 2 a.m.
It's going to be what you can do with your local political office on the local level. It's going to be maybe the guerrilla war tactics as far as hacktivism or something like that.
I think what it's going to be is it's going to be a lot of, and I obviously, being one of these people, am kind of partial to this thought process, but I believe it's going to be the content creators, the independent media outlets like Man of the Free, like Joe Rogan, like Russell Brand, like Ben Shapiro, like the Young Turks, like I'm probably saying more right-leaning than left because that's what my algorithm shows me, because that seems to be what's commonsensical lately. No disrespect to Democrats or left-leaners. I'm always open for that conversation, but some of the progressive tactics right now are a little far-reaching as far as I'm concerned.
Plus, the left doesn't really have to go out and venture their own trail because they got the support of the mainstream media.
And you can go to a lot of you can go down a lot of rabbit holes, and you can go to a lot of places there that would call that weak and say that they have less of a leg to stand on. But I want to keep it friendly. I want to make sure that anybody that is on that side of the aisle, and I'm not necessarily considering myself on the right side of the aisle, but the media puts me there, right?
Sure.
Society puts me there because of how things are viewed right now. So that's where I'm being put. That's not where I want to live, but that's where I'm being put. So from somebody who is being seen on that side of the fence, I'm always open to discussion. I'm always open to discourse. What I want is I want a forum where people can come on here, we can disagree, we can have conversations, and my audience can watch us disagree and have conversations and say, holy shit, you can actually disagree on something and then get done with it and shake hands. There's a guest I have coming in a couple weeks. He's a young mixed race black. I believe he has a black father and a white mother, but he grew up in a black community. Okay, and we have some differing opinions on race, where we're at as far as racism in the country, police, all these things. But he's one of my best friends. And every time we have a conversation, he cuts hair, and he'll cut my hair, and we'll have a conversation, and we'll ruthlessly disagree on so many things. But when we're done, we get up, we hug it out. I appreciate you, bro. Okay, great. See you next time. We're also working together on the music project I was talking to you about. Mm-hmm. So for years and years as Americans, we've disagreed. Respectfully, we've disagreed. We've been able to disagree, but we haven't not been able to coexist. Like, there's this dynamic in the country right now where if you disagree, you have to hate each other. And I think people are so far removed from the days where you could just disagree with someone and then go play.
Even key big, movie stars and political figures in social media has made it easy for people to say outlandish stuff that they usually have to retract.
Right.
I mean, to the tune of murdering or physical harm or torture because someone else has a different viewpoint, which is sick.
100%. So we need to get back to that place where we can disagree, but still unite as Americans, right? There was a time when a stadium full of Democrats and Republicans would stand, remove their hats, put their hands over their hearts, and sing the national anthem. Because regardless of your political leanings, we respected the fact that men and women who came before us sacrificed their lives, their livelihood, and their blood to make this country what it is today, to give us a forum to have discourse freely without persecution on politics or personal opinion, and to be able to live in the pursuit, a life that's in the pursuit of happiness with liberty and justice for all.
Absolutely.
And somewhere along the way, we've lost that, and I believe it's by design, not in some conspiracy weird way, but I mean that together we stand, divided we fall. And people that want this country to fail are continuing to push this narrative, continuing to drive us apart, because we set our own ground rules in the beginning. We said, together we stand, and divided we fall. All somebody else did was just use our own playbook and say, okay, we'll see your together you stand and raise you, a divided you fall. I'm going to divide the shit out of you, and we're going to see if we can make you fall. Yeah. So we've been on for a while now.
I want to do this all night. I don't know. I'm sure there's a time. What is it usually? Like 9
I don't know. How long we've been on the air, Ruben?
2 hours.
2 hours? Okay.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
So time flies when you're having fun.
It does, buddy. It's about 7 o'clock. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap it up, okay? But at the end of the episodes, at the end of the podcast, the YouTube show, the channel, the Man of the Free, whatever you want to call this thing that we're doing, this movement, I always ask the guest to give the audience the best token they can that will help them pursue a better life, a better existence, a better livelihood. And it can be from any standpoint that you choose. For instance, if you believe the major problems in this country right now facing the average American, and that's who we're talking to, Americans, okay, are political, let them know how you manage internally the political debate and how you continue to move forward with love and compassion in your heart and still care about people regardless of their political leanings. If you believe that happiness is derived from financial well-being, and because you're a successful business owner who has quite a few nickels to rub together and lives essentially a free life where he can move about the plane how he wants to, give them a token from that regard. If you think that the key to life is a healthy relationship, and you know that you and Dina have a wonderful marriage through the ups and through the downs, and that you believe you can give them some education in that aspect, what is one thing that you'd like to leave the audience with that has been a key point to you living on this earth for 47 years? You're almost 50, Jim.
I know, Jim.
You old son of a bitch.
I don't look too bad for my age.
You look better than me.
Oh, no, you look
I'm talking about hair, really. That's all I look at anymore.
Why do guys always think that? I guess I never think of it because I have some. But
because when you're me and it just goes every day, you just wave goodbye to another row of hair. You
got to embrace it and just bick that.
I'm getting close. I actually asked my wife. She said,
get a tattoo, something cool,
like
Man of the Free, do it on your forehead, on top of your dome.
Like Bam Bam Bigelow with the flame job going down. Actually, I think I'm just going to get 3 black circles tattooed and put my head down and like a bowling ball. People could just sit there. So I really appreciate you being here, Dan, sharing all this knowledge with these people. I mean, there was a lot to gain from this episode. What do you think, Ruben? Was this a pretty good episode?
It was a really good episode.
And I think we educated some people. I think we had a good discourse where people can learn a lot.
A lot of fun. I never knew podcasting and having shows is,
well, it all depends on the host, Dan.
It does. It does.
You can have a boring motherfucking host. I mean, you've seen Rogan.
My son showed me this kid, Ryan. What is it, Ryan, the YouTuber? He's like number 4 in the world or something.
Oh, Ryan's World?
He's like a little child, and his parents are like living, millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Oh, yeah. Meanwhile, the kid does is look in the camera and yell and open toys.
Toy fun, yay! Dollar signs. Hey, man, that's if he can do it, anybody can do it.
Anybody can do
There's
it.
my token. See ya. No.
Microphone drop, except it's on a stand.
Yeah. Oh, that's a loaded question, Jim. But I'm going to probably say, try and have the best moral compass you can. And a lot of, whether you're religious, no matter what religion you are, a lot of the basic foundational principles, what Jim likes to say, common sense. It's common sense to those when you really think about it. It's framed in the Bible, in the Quran. It's just being a good person, treating other people. We touched on that a lot.
We did.
Money doesn't mean anything. You can't take it with you. And I'd like to congratulate you on your remarkable turnaround from somebody who's seen you from the very beginning to now. I'm proud. It's inspiring.
Thank you,
brother. As a good example plays into this, man. I tell you, if you treat people good and you work hard and you're honest and you have integrity, that being a business owner, you lose your integrity and your reputation. That's all you got. See you later. So that's to me, and it should be most business owners and most people on this earth. It should be their number one to have integrity and treat people the way you want to be treated. And it sounds cliche, and you may hear it in the Bible, like I said, different Tony Robbins books, whatever outlet you get that from, but it all really kind of distills down to having a good moral compass. And you're proof of that too in your own life. You can try it the way that sowing discord and hate and evil and division, but call it karma, whatever, man. It's going to come back, and it's either going to benefit you and reward you, or you're going to, the chickens are going to come home to roost, and you're going to reap division and poverty and evil and hate, and people are going to treat you the way you treated them. So, it's a hard lesson to learn, and it's something I think as you grow older and you gain more wisdom, you just naturally kind of float that way. Mm-hmm. It really depends on the individual, but I would say just, treat people good, work hard, and really anything's possible. I know it sounds kind of cliche. I didn't mean it to kind of come off like that.
No, not at all.
I didn't want to focus on money. Money doesn't mean anything, man. Friends and family, and your kids, your wife, is what I've learned over the years. Money is just a means to live the kind of life you want, or to have the freedom, because you can, whether you built a business, you can have someone cover for you, or you want to take your family out to a nice restaurant and enjoy time with each other. That's what's important. It's not the money. Money is a vehicle.
You're without scripting it and without probably ever seeing it, you're literally just giving a different verbiage iteration of exactly what I tell my audience. And that is, I'm big on money. I'm big on financial success because of exactly what I call it, freedom of money. And you said it.
Sure.
It's the freedom. Money is the vehicle. Money facilitates the positive life quality, okay? You got to have money to play the game, right? But if the game is not fun, you don't need to have the money to play the game, because there's no sense in wanting to play the game. Financial wellness is important because I believe that it lowers the stress level, it lowers the potential for interrelationship arguments, and it affords you the ability to
be charitable.
There you go. To give your children what they need to play the Pop Warner football.
And even strangers. My business contributes, I contribute. It doesn't even have to be monetary. It could be your time. It could be a skill that you lend to teach somebody.
That's something that I've explained to my audiences. I've had them comment, Luke, we want to give, but we don't have the money to right now. And a lot of people don't understand that giving sometimes is walking over to somebody that you see is going through a hard time and saying, hey, listen, I went through a similar thing. And I know this probably doesn't excite you to hear right now because you're not there, but I got through it, and I know you're going to too. And I just happened to notice, that you had whatever happened to you. I want you to know that I think you have really nice eyes and you have pretty hair. And I'm a happily married man, so I'm not hating on you. But when you're a pretty woman, I believe credit should be given where it's due. And I want you to know that as a successful man who's married and happy, that somebody like me out there would probably take a liking to you because you're an attractive woman. And I see that you've had kind of a bad day. I want you to know in the most innocent way possible, you got a beautiful soul. You're a beautiful person. I hope you have a great day. I don't think I'll ever see you again, but today I want to be great because I said so. And then just walk away. You have no idea what that will do for a person.
No, and I think what's a shame is I think we've been conditioned by media and all these things to find that.
Well, that's weird.
That's corny.
That's weird. That's corny. You're a pussy if you
They'll
say
almost
nice
think
shit
like you're.
that.
Are you gonna mug me? Like, no, I'm just weird. I'm nice.
Dan, I remember when I was in the locker room as a kid, and there was a young man who was slightly disabled, and he came from a very poverty-ridden family, and he was not well bathed, and he had secondhand everything. And I was leaving the gym. This was in like 5th grade, 4th grade. And as I'm walking out of the gym locker room, I hear this kind of whimpering, kind of half-crying voice, and it makes me a little emotional to think about it. When I was using drugs, I wouldn't have shed a tear over this. Now being sober, it really hits me deep. And I heard this guy. He was this big, tall, goofy, oafy guy. And he goes, I can't do this. And he just started crying, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" So I go back in there, and
Was that your school?
This is
growing
at
up?
my school growing up, Cato Meridian. Yep. And I won't say his name out of respect to him, but I went back there, and let's say his name was Buddy. I said, "Buddy, what's the matter?" And he goes, "I can't tie my shoe. Everybody makes fun of me because I can't tie my shoe. I can't get it on, and now I can't go to class." I said, "Hey, buddy, relax." I remember how putrid the smell was coming off his feet and his shoes. And I remember grabbing his shoelace, and they were so saturated with sweat and body oil and dead skin and just funk that I was literally gagging as I was doing it. But I tied his shoes for him, and as I pulled them tight, ooze dripped in between my finger. I mean, that's how disgusting, to the point where my hands smelled.
You paint a very colorful picture, Jim.
How's your stomach, Jim?
Pretty good.
And I just remember in this moment thinking to myself as I was holding back bile, I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing the right thing. Graduation day, that same guy came up to me, and he made it through. He's incredibly intelligent. He graduated with honors. He was in advanced placement classes. He was not a physically, what society would say, attractive or a desirable person, but he was a human being. And he came to me on graduation day, and he said, I just want you to know that I hope you have a good life, and I hope you're successful, and I hope everything goes the way it should go for you. And I'm like, what do you mean? If we're calling him Buddy, what do you mean, Buddy? And he goes, when we were in 4th grade, and he replayed the scenario. Mm-hmm. And he said, and because I was a dick in school, I was a bully, I picked on people, I made fun of girls. I had 7 different girlfriends at the same time, and I took pride in that. But he basically said to me, I know you're not what they said you are. I know deep down inside of you that you're a good person, because when nobody was looking, you did the right thing. And that's what integrity is. And he said, I hope that life treats you well. He goes, but I also hope that you understand that who gives a shit what people think, man?
Yeah.
He goes, because all these people made fun of me for all these kindergarten through 12. He goes, and once I leave out of here and I head off to RIT, I'm never going to see him again. And I'm going to be with a group of people who are brains, who are all ugly and stinky and nerdy just like me, and I'll be in my element. He was like at peace with the world, and I was so happy for him. And I was scared shitless of the world. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do. And here was this crazy paradigm shift where this guy who would have killed to be me, 6-7 years prior, was now showing me how well put together he was mentally and how prepared for the real world that he was, because he saw getting out of that school and moving on to the free world as freedom to move on and upward to people who were worldly and could help him, and he could grow and he could learn. And I was like, I'm no longer the big frog in the small pond, and I have to go out to this shit show of the world, and I'm going to find out and have to see that I'm really not as special as I thought I was. So it's just amazing that the uniting factor between those two people was one kind gesture. So what you're saying in regards to the good moral compass, and you say we talked about it a lot, we actually didn't on the show. So to clarify for them, it was before. We talked about it a lot before we got on the show, and we dibble-dabbled and touched on it here. But I'm so glad that you said that, because it was not scripted. It was clearly off the cuff, and it aligns so well with what I tried to share with the audience. And I'm going to leave it with this. I want the audience to think of Capitol Hill. I want them to think of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in a verbal quarrel with Matt Gaetz. And I want you to think of how heated and how nasty that could get. But then I want you to picture at the end of it, Matt Gaetz saying, well, Alexandria, you know what, despite our differences, you really are a beautiful woman. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is an attractive female. She really is. I'm naturally a beautiful woman, okay? When I hear her speak, she becomes one of the most viciously ugly woman I have ever seen in my life, and I could never see myself in any sort of romantic engagement with her. I'm a happily married man, all respect paid to my wife. I'm speaking in just generalities right now, okay? From the mind of a man, I could never see myself being romantic with a woman like that because of how snarky, how nasty, and how often she tries to act witty and educated about things she knows nothing about. So I want you to imagine that moment. Matt Gaetz tells her, you know what, AOC, you really drive me crazy, but, I tell you what, you really are a pretty woman. And despite our differences, I hope that you have a happy marriage, a happy life, or whatever the case may be, because I know deep down inside there's probably a really good human being. And you know what? I figure each day I should say something nice to somebody, and you're just very pretty. So I hope you have a nice day. Do you think AOC is then going to look at him and be like, fuck you, Gaetz, get out of here, you prick? I mean, part of me thinks she might.
That would really
solidify the deal for you. Yeah. But now imagine she then goes, you know what, Matt? You're a prick, and I hate the fact that you're a Republican, because if you weren't, you've got some of the best hair I've ever seen and some really handsome eyes, and I'd probably go on a date with you because you're really well-spoken,
Barbie
you're
and Ken, DC.
There you go, right? Because in the back of both of their heads, that's what they're thinking, right? Or go to somebody like who's another, like Nancy Pelosi. Let's take Chuck Schumer. Goes over to Donald Trump, and they have some bitch session about some sort of policy, right? And then Schumer says, but Donald, traditionally we really hate each other, and traditionally we should really be polarized against one another because, let's face it, you're an arrogant asshole with bad hair and orange skin. But Nance and I have been talking, and it's really wonderful how far you've come in business, some of the things you've been able to accomplish for the city of New York. And I want you to know, as a New Yorker, that I appreciate what you've done, And then Trump's like, well, Chuck, I'm not really in the mood to do my Trump. It requires me to not have a plugged up nose, and I'm a little stuffy.
That's pretty good.
But he decides, Chuck, today, I'm not even going to, but my point being this, if he just decided to be kind, Chuck, you've been on Washington Hill for a lot of years. I don't agree with everything that you say, but I heard that your daughter's best friend passed away a couple weeks ago, and it was a terrible thing, and she died young. I'd like to donate $10,000 to her family, in her, or to her family in her memory, to go towards the funeral expenses. Or obviously, I'm just picking shit out of my ass right now. But I mean, a genuine nice gesture, something very kind. Or maybe he talked to him about some piece of legislation that he'd put through a while ago, and just chose to go out of his way to be aggressively kind and genuine to him, and leave the conversation on a note where, hey, listen, we disagree. We got a job to do, but at the end of the day, you're an American, I'm an American. I hope nothing but good things happen to you, and let's try to work together. What's going on right now is the audience is like, what the fuck did he smoke before this episode right now? They're like, what the fuck is going on? But what I'm doing is I'm explaining to you, Dan said something about being confident, and Dan said something about knowing who you are. When you're confident and you know who you are, you can have that conversation. I can go up to somebody that I disagree with terribly and that I don't particularly like, and I can say something nice to them. I had a customer today just bitch and moan incessantly and say nasty things, that I was a scumbag car dealer and I sold pieces of shit and this, that, and the third, and blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the conversation, what it boiled down to is they had a mechanical failure. It was outside of warranty, and I had to explain to them that it wasn't covered, okay? I offered to give them a very discounted labor rate. I offered to give them an incredibly deep discount on the part. They were going to pay less than half of what they would have paid anywhere else to have it fixed. Less than half. And I told them that we would facilitate the repair within 24 hours, which is a week better than anybody else was going to do. And it still wasn't good enough, and they still hated me. And the things they said to me were just nasty. And I said to them, I said, Mr. Jones, it wasn't Mr. Jones, but for, privacy's sake, Mr. Jones, I get it. You're frustrated. If I was you, I'd be frustrated too. I think your frustration is misdirected. I think you're frustrated. Your frustration is due to maybe a financial circumstance where you'd like to buy a new car, but instead you got to buy a 150,000-mile used car. And I could be taking a liberty that's offending you right now. I hope I'm not, but maybe that's part of your frustration. Maybe part of your frustration is the fact that your wife divorced you, because I remember you telling me that's why your credit was bad, so you have to pay this high interest rate. Maybe that's why you're frustrated. Maybe you're frustrated because the mechanical repair sucks, but you also twisted your ankle this morning. I don't know what it is that's got you so upset, but I know it's not me. Because when I sold you the car, I gave you a clear set of warranty guidelines. You initialed them, you signed them, you knew what they were. So anywhere else in the world, in the court of law, in the court of public opinion, my side of things would hold up. Everybody would agree with me because I outlined what the rules of engagement were. I made them very clear. You agreed to play within them. You have every right to be frustrated that your truck's broken. You have every right to be frustrated that it costs money. But what you don't have the right to do is treat me poorly because you don't like a decision that you've made. So I'm going to forgive you all those nasty things that you said, whether you want to be forgiven or not.
And if you've met me 15 years ago, I would have a bunch.
You'd be bleeding 15 minutes ago.
And I know that.
Or 15 years ago, and you do know that. But the bottom line is I forgave him. And I did this in my episode that I called Welcome Negativity. I explained to them when they come across somebody who's being negative, they have to forgive them. They have to first apologize to them, even though they didn't do anything wrong. I apologized to the guy that his truck broke and so on and so, even though I didn't do it. I forgave him for the negative way he was acting towards me and the venom that he spit at me. And then I told him and then I wished him well. I said, I hope from here forward, everything goes well for you. And I want you to know that I genuinely appreciate your business, even though you're talking shit to me, calling me an asshole, all these things. You spent money with my company. That helped feed my family. Anybody that does that is appreciated by me. I hope you have a good day, sir. I'm going to walk off at this point. And the guy just kind of stood there, jaw on the ground.
You covered every I and T.
You can't rebuttal.
Right.
There's
and you killed them with kindness while doing it.
100%. But you know what the thing is, man? And to this point, I meant every word that I said. I meant every word that I said because I had the confidence to know that I operated within the confines of the law, that I did exactly what I said I was going to do, that I executed in a professional manner, and I left nothing up to chance. I made it very clear what the expectations were, the way we operate. I outlined it for him, and he agreed to it. So I knew walking away from that conversation, I've done nothing wrong.
And that's why you have a good moral compass, because if you don't, and you would have had to resort to, probably just due to the very nature, bullshit, scheming, lying, manipulation, and that would have came out back towards that customer as toxic or not friendly. And that's why, you don't have to always look over your shoulder.
100%. And it would have given him the ammunition to then go out in the public, into the marketplace, and have a valid reason to talk shit about me and to try to convince other people that I was bad. Okay? Man of the Free, Freedom of Mind, Money, and Media. It's been a great episode. Dan Bender from NetManageIT, the CTO.
We wear many hats.
The C3PO.
Titles don't really mean much.
CR2D2.
Chief Tech Guy.
Chief Tech Guy. The big kahuna that can still plug in and turn the screws, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, brother. Thank you so much for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the show today. If you did, like, subscribe, leave comments. I respond to every single comment. Hopefully there's a day where there's too many comments for me to do that. But for now, guys, whatever you have to say, anything you want to know, any responses you have to the content, if you liked it, leave a thumbs up, leave us a comment, let us know you liked it. I'll respond. If you didn't like it, even more importantly, leave a big ass thumbs down and a nasty comment. Let me understand what you don't like so we can fix it and make it better. Or if you're just an asshole, go fuck yourself. Thanks for being here. Dan, I appreciate you. As always, Ruben, I appreciate you being here. Man of the Free.
Thanks.
Signing off.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, buddy.